Hello. Just going through some the replays now and seeing what looks good. We've got replays from Warty. We've got replays from KSL. We have replays from SEL, which is the StarCraft versus Brood War League. So I think there's one interesting series from KSL. But Warty's replay pack has replays from the TLMC. So that also sounds good. Okay, so probably not going to cast anything too old. There's this replay pack is stuff from August. So probably not any of that. Okay, some of these map names, I like they look like song names. I was confused for a second. Missing You Today apparently is a map name. I wish I knew which ones were good. Maybe some TVZ, Lambo versus Classic. Max Pax versus Ryung. Haven't seen Ryung in a while. TLMC 21. Which one? What is the I figured that is also the name of the tournament. Maybe I'm wrong. TLMC 21 tournament, Warty. What I don't know what maps what tournament this was played on. All right, well, it's Warty's broadcasts before it crashes the computer. Okay, this is actually called the TLMC Tournament 15, even though it is TLMC 21. So that was the confusion. But I got it now. Just want to make sure that if I cast, a best of 3, why is the color so crazy? White? Green is like a mint green that's blinding on Liquipedia for me right now. Anyway, that if I cast something that, you know, I think is a best of 3, but then it ends in like a 3-0, and I'm like, oh, this is a best of 5. That's awkward.
Hostile forces detected. Arming raid defenses.
Thank you for the raid. Hello. I think it is a good thing I checked, because I actually started the best of 5s at round of 12. So yeah, I wouldn't have known that. I think people were saying that Clem Bien was very good, right? This sounds familiar. Let's do that. Let's do Clem Bien, which of course is a PVT. Starts on Magnetic North. Okay, this is in order then. Great. All right, we got some games. We got some games to cast. Let's get into it. PVT. Hello, everyone. We got ourselves some replays from good old Wardy. He has given us over, like, I don't know, 100 replays. Us as in his subscribers, but still. Dating back all the way to August, but I was far more interested in things that were a little bit closer to today, so we can see the new patch, as well as the TLMC maps. So we're going to have all new maps today, some of which I don't believe was played on the Open Cup. Like, this one is not familiar. Don't ask me what maps have won. Don't ask me what maps are going to be in the ladder map pool, because I don't think anyone actually officially knows that. I don't know. We're just going to go along for the ride of this tournament. So this is actually the round of 8. It is a best of 5, and it is a PVT. In the top right, it is Bian, and the bottom left, it is Clem. Of course, because Clem does not like TVT. He plays Protoss, and he's pretty darn good with it. But to be honest with you, a lot of Terrans are pretty good with Protoss. Is there a reason for that? I mean, maybe. With the Protoss race, I don't know. Don't ask me. No. Balance wine, design wine, whatever you want to call it aside. I think it just makes sense, actually, from a gameplay perspective, that there are a couple of Terrans, and yeah, sure, particularly Clem, that are going to be better at PVT, more comfortable at PVT than their TVT. I think Clem at one point did have some of the best TVT, but even then I don't think he liked it, even though he started winning a lot more with it. This was about 2 years ago. And then it kind of became, you know, this weird, like, are we not with the Cyclones? Oh, he lost the probe. Wasn't supposed to happen. With the Cyclones, and when it went back to the Tech Lab Cyclones, it kind of feels like that's when it just broke Clem, and he was like, well, I never really liked the matchup anyway, and I gotta figure out the stupid Cyclone again, and no one's do that, so I'm just gonna play Protoss, because Protoss is doing well anyway, and, well, now it's a tale as old as time, because it seems like everyone now realizes Clem will indeed pick Protoss when he faces Terran. And he's, like I said, pretty good with it, but it's such a... In TVT, it's a lot more about, yeah, some early game micro a lot of the time, sure, of course, he's good at that. But it's a lot more about patience and positioning, and so many TVTs do seem to be pushing towards the later stages. We're talking about air units, and that's quite annoying for some players. It's not the style that I think Clem especially would want to play, where Protoss versus Terran is actually very aggressive, in your face, controlling, multitasking, and that's a lot more fun for him. Zealot opener, we've been tracking it, rushing across the map. I don't know the rush distances of any of these maps. Some of them might just be generally short, although I did see someone say that a lot of these are not many rush maps in the map pool for this tournament, but that said, I don't know what the distance is. So whether this is an opening just to try and throw Bian off, which so far it has not. Excellent micro from Bian. He did go Marine opener into Reactor as well, which has helped him too. Yeah, it has not really thrown Bian off. Very little delay in the command center. Clem's follow-up of the Adepts trying to, you know, add on with that Zealot didn't really work out. Just because the 3 Marines already being out with a little bit of the high ground choke and whatnot to work with, I mean, it actually makes it much easier than if you had a Reaper and then we're still waiting for the reactor to finish. So this is also probably not what Clem was hoping for as far as just the openers of his opponent, although it was a low ground command center. That reactor timing is quite important. So, as I said, not the best opener perhaps for Clem. He does grab 2 Marines and the SCV, slightly in the command center, but then otherwise just been really trying to, I don't know, not even really find any damage with the Adepts, honestly. It wasn't much for them to do, but rather maybe see what the follow-up is, see if there was a Cyclone, for instance, about to pop out. And it has. Clem did back away before that showed itself, so on the one hand, he doesn't know about it. On the other hand, he did save an extra Adept from death, because the Cyclone certainly would have gotten the lock on. But that does mean that Clem doesn't know what the follow-up is. Now he has a better idea. He did shade the Adepts, but still gonna die to the Cyclone. Now the medevac comes in as well. And, well, Clem, he was anticipating, you know, the possibility of a Widow Mine drop, for instance. It's actually just a direct drop to the front with these Marines. Clem needs to bring everything together. Warps in the Stalker in an unfortunate position. Instantly torn down. Does take down the Cyclone, though, as well. So it does suck that he lost 2 Stalkers, one of which was warping in and thus more fragile. But he does handle things, so it did not snowball at all. That also helps that Clem did have, for 1, 3 gateways, and then 2 was warping in pretty consistently as he is prepping for his own attack. Warp Prism is on the way, and Beyond needs to be a little scared about that. He still has the Marine drop that can threaten the probes and force Clem to warp in back at home, which is exactly what Clem is going to have to do. Beyond just goes right back into it. A couple of Stalkers war warped in the main by the looks of it, and I don't know if they're going to be enough. 3rd Stalker is necessary. Even then, I'm not sure, especially if they're not focus firing. Clem is also trying to micro on the other side of the map and find maximum damage with the actual attack. I don't know if this is really going to go that well for him, though. Already 11 probes have gone down, almost 12. Beyond handles the defense without losing any SCVs. He is handling it still very, very well. Clem kind of has to acknowledge it is no longer possible to find really much. Okay, he goes for the SCVs, but look how injured these Stalkers are. You're not going to warp in anymore. He grabs 3 SCVs, and I think that's really all he can get. The Stalkers got so injured running around as they did, past the tank fire, into the bunker a little bit. Beyond certainly dealing more damage to his opponent and the other way around. And Clem had already had a slightly delayed 3rd Nexus, just the fact that he did go 3-gate Warp Prism with the Stalker Warpins. So this 3rd Nexus, a little delayed, and now not going to have that instant transfer of a decent amount of probes, already pre-saturating it. Now I just got to build it up the old-fashioned way, so Beyond has been ahead in the economy. He's dropping mules, and even going to get the Observer right here. And that's going to take away the vision from Clem, who already has another Observer on the way, to be fair, but it's always nice to get it out of the equation. Force them to rebuild it, force them to spend that gas in particular, and force them to think about what they really want to do with the Robo. The charge and +1 is on the way. We will have the robotics bay, I assume, very soon. Clem, I don't know how often he's been experimenting with going into Storm with all the patches as well. It's kind of weird, you know, if you're maining Protoss, you know, you're practicing with Protoss on the ladder all the time. You're playing your competitive matches against as Protoss all the time. I mean, clearly Protoss mains have played quite a bit with the patch, even though these patches have been coming very quickly. But when it comes to being an off-race Protoss and only specializing it versus Terran, I mean, I know there are days where he seems to just play Protoss, so it's not like he, you know, quits if he doesn't get a PVT. But I wonder how much he's really experimented as much as some other Protosses with all the patches. Well, regardless, it's not Storm this time around. He did grab a tank right there. Nice micro shown from Clem. Gonna track this army. Does lose a Stalker, and this one, unfortunately, took the wrong way around. I'm guessing that was a drop scout that was going on, and then it was still in the same hotkey. But either way, Clem knows the attacker's on the way, so of course he enters into the Warp Prism. But most Terrans are going to expect this, especially if they already know the Warp Prism is out. And so Beyond has his reinforcements at home. Doesn't quite grab the Warp Prism. Stims after the army. Once those sentries before they get these great force fields. Well, maybe not great force fields, actually. The sentries died. They got the force fields to segment off the army. The problem was the army that Clem had still wasn't quite good enough. If those charge lots were also there on the front, connecting with the bio that was spliced off from the rest of the force fields, then those would have been good force fields. But it didn't really work out the way that Clem was envisioning, because he did get aggressive with those force fields. Like, he moved that army forward, wanted to buy more time, wanted to slice off a couple of units. That's a great idea if it works. It did kind of backfire. I don't know if it's the right word, but it didn't really work out the way that he intended. Forced to replace at least one of those sentries, once Guardian Shield, as well as maybe some force fields. War Prism, still not even injured, is going to be a constant nuisance, but so far so good for Bjorn handling this. We got equal upgrades so far, staying on equal upgrades. Fourth Nexus now coming down for Clem. Remember, he did take those 11 probes with the damage, so the pace to the expansions and to the saturation for Protoss is a little off from what you might expect. That said, we have Clem macroing well, but also trying to engage when given the opportunity. We look at the armies, though, as they are, and it's easy math, I think, right now, unless something goes spectacularly wrong with the force fields. Colossus does join in, but this is still a very powerful Terran force, split appropriately to handle anything going into the natural, as well as potential concave. Maybe don't even need it. Handles the natural attack, gets some EMPs on the whole army, and still is able to run away with the main force. Now grouping everything together, he's got a couple extra medevacs with energy, he's got a couple of Vikings as well, and those Vikings should kill the Warp Prism. How did he not drop the Colossus in a panic? Oh, because it's almost also dead. That's why. Damn if you do, damn if you don't. Both things are going to go down here, and Beyond looks to be very close to, I don't know about winning, but I feel like this is winning. I feel like it absolutely is winning. Colossus is going to appear, but so many Zealots have died. The Immortals died. The Sentries died. Stalker count has been culled. Beyond happily on 3 bases, having denied every single form of harassment. There is 2 or 3 Warp Prism attempts. There was a Zealot in the natural. Everything was denied while he handled the main attack almost flawlessly. Beyond looking really good here, and Clem not finding any little bits of damage, not finding any control that a Protoss would typically want. It could all harken back to 11 probes dying. That does offset everything. And that same attack into the choke on the 3rd for Bjorn, maybe something was supposed to be there that wasn't. Maybe a couple extra Zealots. I don't know about a second Colossus, but I don't know the exact build. Like, there could have been something a little extra that then meant, yes, at the end of the day, Clem would probably have to retreat, but he wouldn't have simply been, dominated as it was. That said, Clem is on 4 bases, moving on to 5. Despite a 30 supply gap at 1 second right there, it looked very scary with Bjorn's army so close to an important base. Clem actually has recovered already. I say already, but then again, this is an okay position for Protoss, but it's really not what they would want to be in. It just looks okay, because you look at it, you're like, 15 supply down, Protoss army is good quality. This is normal, right? And it's like, well, it really feels like the expectation for TVP has changed in the last, I'm not going to say last 2 years or whatever, but it just, at one point, Protoss was the good quality, low quantity race. If they're down in supply, versus Zerg, that's still the case, but versus Terran as well, it's like, But now it's kind of scary, because they might be down in supply, but they should have this super strong economy that means that they can warp in at a moment's notice, or that they're setting up some multitasking, right, with the Warp Prism. The fact that Clem isn't quite on that comfort level does mean that Bjorn has a stronger army, for sure, and when he does engage, Clem is going to have to make some decisions that are going to be very hard to make, like he's going to have to pull back at some point that then might open the floodgates for Bjorn going after this base or this base. But he will have to pull back. I mean, I don't see a world in which Clem's army actually takes an amazing fight unless Bjorn really starts to mess up handling some of these run-bys. And the run-bys are getting larger, to be fair, so they're getting, the potential is there for that, but Bjorn seems to be tracking the main army quite well thanks to the sensor tower. That is 4 Colossus, but then it's also actually only 7 Vikings. That's not that impressive. They're getting a good angle. They do tear down one of those Colossus. A couple of force fields came down to slice the army again, which is nice. Clem utilizing relatively unknown map. This is deep into the map tournament, so they have been playing on this for a while, but still, he's utilizing these chokes really well, bouncing between the 3rd and 4th base and trying to find Bjorn's army out of position. Not quite happening yet. As much as these are chokes that I'm looking at, I guess this is also destructible. It could be another choke. Interesting base layout. They are kind of far away from each other. So there's not as much ping-ponging back and forth and really catching the Terran out of position. I say that, and maybe I just damned him, because now the Zealots appear and he has to focus on that. The army was thinking about getting that low ground. Not quite going to happen. I mean, if Clem gets down here, then, he's really making a bold choice going up against a planetary as well. Zealots were able to enter into the natural. Beyond's army was there, but maybe was dealing with more zealots. There was like 15 of them, 10 of them went down there. Another army fight that I don't think Clem really wants to totally engage into, but just wants to take little bits of the army away from Beyond. Loses another Colossus, might be losing a third one. Vikings are awfully injured, though, and now there's no Vikings. 2 of them in the skies. The Baya army gets a nice opportunity to concave, but there's a couple of reinforcing zealots that end up pushing Beyond back instead. Those Vikings... Just 4 of them that are being built would be enough for these very, very injured Colossus. So he's going to be up to 8. Those will be taken care of. Caduceus reactors on the way, plus 2 ship weapons. I did see the fusion core, so yeah, it's going to get Caduceus first, actually, which is an interesting choice. But then maybe into Liberator range. Beyond has had his supply cold. Clem's little engagements have been working out. At no point did he take a straight-up 100% involved engagement, in which he then might have lost and had to pull back. He does know how to play Protoss nowadays. And this is Protoss, kind of just the taps forward, take some supply off your opponent, hopefully have a great economy behind it, which he is getting up to 6 bases. And be prepared to run away. Be prepared to run away. One Colossus just getting bopped instantly. It was one of the weak ones. Second weak one also going to get torn down, and that means 1 Colossus. That's all the AoE that Clem has. Because he's going to take this engagement, but is this really the one to take? 2-2 to 3-1. Which, by the way, that means the armor on the Zealots is the missing upgrade, so they're getting melted. Stalker's not going to handle this very well. A couple more Zealots come in, but that is so much bio. And yeah, that was not the fight to take. 40 supply difference here. Clem going to need to remax as soon as possible, but he's not that rich. EMP takes away whatever could have been a force field, I guess. More EMPs are available should it be necessary. There are no storms, there are no disruptors. There's not even Colossus on the way again. Instead, we got into a lot of Immortal production, which, I mean, sometimes can be great. There's a lot of Marauders left over here, and they are getting a little low in that health. The Immortals could shine in an ideal scenario. But the supplies, I think, are telling the tale right now. Bjorn also getting onto 5 bases, has not had his economy interrupted. So while Clem's economy has been stable, again, it was never really that supercharged, amazing economy, which he flawlessly got to 5 to 6 bases, had 2,000 in the bank, and could make a mistake that cost him 30 or 40 supply. Unfortunately, when he lost 30 or 40 supply more than his opponent, he has stayed down 40, now even 50 supply. Some DTs are coming in here. I think Beyond does notice. There we go. There's the scan. They did a lot of damage. A lot of Marauders went down, but they're only going to be useful for so long. Liberators are also causing another problem that Clem can't really handle all that well. It does look like the emergency DTs are going to save his life for now. Beyond still holding on to the supply lead, now at 3-3 versus 3-2-1. Shield upgrade was made. But the Liberators are the new problem, right? So they got +2 ship weapons, first and foremost. That has been involved. They do not have Liberator range. And I do assume Beyond still wants to grab that, even though he obviously prioritized Caduceus. But the higher that count gets, with or without their range, the more difficult it is going to be for Clem to tackle the Terran army. Because, previously I was talking about how Clem was using these chokes really well. Well, you know what else uses chokes really well? Liberators, siege units. And if Clem is forced to back away again, those Liberators are going to siege up offensively. It could be bad news. Clem has managed to recover the supply yet again. It's like every time I look at the supply and I'm like, this should probably be it. There's a moment's breath, this time thanks to those DTs. And then Clem, again, still with a consistent income. It's very consistent. He just doesn't be able to build a bank. Is able to eventually even out the supply, but an even supply still might not cut it against what is one of the mightier Terran forces. 3-3 done with the ship weapons for the Liberators to drag those Zealots back into it. He does. Excellent concave gotten as well. Great disruptor shot, though. Beyond just not realizing that was on the way. Also, his very injured Marauders off to the left side now dying to the rest of the Protoss army. And this battle will continue. The back and forth apparently will not stop, despite Beyond getting some good engagements. An 8,000 resource advantage for Beyond as well. Clem is he's holding on, but he's holding on damn well. He is 6 bases going on to 7 at this point. And he's going to have to start expanding towards his opponent after that, though, so I don't know how long he can continue taking subpar engagements. Once again, going to take this engagement, decides to go over on the left side where the Liberators are not. Kind of pulls over to the left. Some snipes went down. EMPs as well. Disruptor this time not going to get a great shot and does die for trying. There's very little Protoss left over. No Zealots to protect the very vulnerable units here. The Colossus is going to get focus fire. The Disruptor does go down. Second Colossus is here. Zealots are finally here. That's still a decent amount of buy with a lot of medevac energy as well. The Zealots trying their damnedest to actually get the kills, but it's not going to work out. And finally, after 18 and a half minutes of a tug of war, Bjorn is going to win. Clem, I don't think it was ever in a truly advantageous position. He got to a decent position, but was kind of missing the backbone that Protoss would generally have. I do feel like it's a little bit of that cascade effect of the earlier probe kills, but that said, Clem did an amazing job, I think, with what he had. And of course, Bjorn did an amazing job defending the run-bys, continuing his expansions, making sure to be aggressive and not let Clem get more abusive chokes. That was a really pretty TVP, actually. Looking forward to the rest of it. Making sure that no one gets spoiled. There we go. I think my stream deck... doesn't want to work. Did I just break it? Okay. Let's see if refreshing the stream deck scenes works. Isn't there usually community voting for the maps? But then Blizzard looks at it and goes, that's interesting, and then like ignores it. So I changed my stream deck, but now it's like it's confused. It's like it thinks we're in StarCraft 2 casting and we're not. All right, this thing's useless, officially useless. Now even one scene won't change. Fine, I'll alt-tab. Just annoying because the laptop that StarCraft is in my streaming software is on is all the way over there. So tiny. Anyhow. All right, game 2 is going to be on Missing You. I already forgot the name of the map. Missing You 2? Is that what it was? Probably. In the top left, it is Beyond. In the bottom right, it is Clem. Yeah, we'll just do it live. I mean, this is my usual habit, is alt-tabbing to change scenes, unlike some other more professional streamers. But I did set up the scene changes, knowing that I would need them for Safe House, and then needing them for right now, where all my main PC has been moved to Las Vegas. And I was so proud of myself for remembering this and having it available for when I needed it. And then... oh, and then this happens. What was that? What was that? Who knows? I think that was... I was pressing buttons because I was getting frustrated on my Stream Deck, and I think Stream Deck was on a significant delay, and it just did all like 20 actions in 1 second. Hopefully they didn't give anyone, problems, known as like epilepsy. But this should be fine now. I think it got out of its system. Maybe now it'll work, and I'll stop complaining about a streaming setup. Anyway, so back to the TVP. We do have this map, which I have not seen before. So last time we didn't really get a good look at it before everything we're going to talk about. Kind of wanted to introduce the situation, and then there was a Zealot opener. One Rex expand here from Bjorn and Clem, not Zealot opening. Means we can take at least one look at the overall map. Last map was... I liked last map. I liked that it felt shorter and skinnier, smaller in general. In my ideal world, players are forced to play on very uncomfortable maps. And I know that does disproportionately affect Zerg players when things get smaller and more rushy. And that sucks. but there's no changing map significantly without someone getting screwed, at least initially. Like, that's just something we all have to agree on. As much as most people agree with the sentiment that they want new and interesting maps, things that are different than the standard, they may or may not understand that there's always going to be someone who is screwed over for this. And then, you know, the other argument is like, well, if it's only 1 or 2 maps, Marauder Opener, that are different and unique, they're just going to be vetoed, which is true. I agree with that. But this is where I'm like, in my ideal world, you would just have all of the ladder maps be different and extreme, so that players are forced to do these things and forced to really, you know, pre-plan very specific builds for the maps and all that good stuff. But anyway, we do have a slightly interesting opener that has now been scouted. Clem was not expecting the Marauder Slow opener, of course. Now he knows about it, but this wasn't a Stalker opener, so the Adept has a shot of getting out because Marauder Slow was not done when the first tag happened. That is good news for Clem. The bad news for him is that he doesn't quite know what the follow-up is. It is possible to 3 racks, but it's not always a 3 racks, and so that might be a bit of a surprise. But yeah, taking a look at the map, this is obviously much larger, much wider. It's asymmetrical, so we're not having the same bottom left and top right, which is pretty cool. The middle seems, you know, kind of normal enough. 2 pathways to get across the map to your opponent, 3rd base and 4th base. Pretty simple, I suppose. But then, yeah, the fact that the bottom left is different than the top right, and the top right even has a gold makes this interesting. You know, 2 golds even. You know, who kind of chooses where to expand, and does the other player follow suit, or do they take the other side of the map, or what's going to happen? Maybe we'll see some late game between these two. Last game got close, but I don't know if we really see these outer bases used too often. It is a 3 racks. This is not considered the greatest build amongst the professional scene, just because it's generally scouted pretty quickly, especially when we had Sentry openers all the time. Those have kind of died off. They're obviously still okay. They still can absolutely give you pretty much perfect vision. But what was all Protosses always opening up with the Sentry as one of their first 3 units has kind of fallen to the wayside. Now, like, most people still prefer their comfortable non-Sentry openers. But anyway, this is not going to be scouted until it actually already hits. Stim is almost done. The bio is waiting. As I said, there is a possibility to 3 racks follow-up with that Marauder Slow opener. And Clem certainly would know that. So he is not moving out, even though Blink is about to finish. And if he figured there was definitely a 1-1-1, he'd be probably a little more adventurous with Stalkers, especially once Blink is done. Instead, he has to keep in mind, like, this could be a 3 racks. There'd be a lot of bio waiting for me. And Beyond was literally just waiting right here for any unit to appear. The Observer is the first thing that scouts this. I think it did catch how much bio was waiting. Now it obviously sees that it was a 3 racks. Since Beyond didn't get a surprise, didn't get to shock his opponent, no Stalkers, just ran face first into his 3 racks. Seems like he's not going to try and do what a lot of other people would do, especially in the lower leagues, for instance, which is just, I have a 3 racks, I have Stim to win. Not to say that doesn't, sometimes work in the professional scene, it does, but it's certainly a lot riskier. The good Protoss, the great Protoss of the world are going to know how to defend a 3 racks and then how to punish the 3 racks if it doesn't work. Clem has been playing pretty defensive. Shield batteries in nice locations. Getting his gateways. He's going up to charge and robotics bay once again. So very similar to last game. And he is tracking the army. There's a lot of bio, but there's not a lot of starport with this build. And this is why also it can be scary. I mean, it's arguably why it is scary actually to do. If you don't get that damage early on with like a stim timing or even this particular attack, you're going to have a lot less in the sky. So less medevac, less multitasking drops, right? Because you have less medevacs, and then less Vikings, which is going to be really important when Clem gets to Colossus. Guardian Shield focus fired first and foremost. Nicely done by Bjorn. Still a decent amount of bio and no medevac healing. Sorry, decent amount of Protoss. And no medevac healing. This is second Observer to be killed. Warpins were happening. Shield battery could have been recharged. Clem handles this very nicely indeed. I mean, that was such a calm defensive play. And it is Beyond who is forced to evacuate before he starts losing some of these units that are getting injured and getting one shot because they still don't have any healing. Another stim. Put some of these Marauders into the red, which is exactly what the Stalkers are looking for. They grab yet another one. They want that last one. They're going to get it. Now the Medivacs finally get to healing. But this is so far not the best opener from Bjorn. There's only a 10 worker difference. That sounds totally fine, right? Bjorn even has an upgrade lead. He's about to be on, well, I guess continue with his upgrade lead because he's got +1 finishing. But I would say the lack of starport units is very scary, particularly in today's TVP, where Protoss have really, I felt like, gotten to master the Colossus portion of the game. It's not like they weren't good with Colossus beforehand, but it was more like, do I have Colossus? Do I push? Okay, check, and then I'm going to leave and not really do much else with it. Now, Protoss are like, I have Colossus, you don't have a lot of Vikings. I'm going to push, but not kill you. And then I'm going to push again, and then I'm going to push again, and then I'm going to kill you because it'll be so weak and so injured. So we'll see if Clem does this, see how much he can just wear Bjorn's army out. Taking a direct fight isn't the way to go. That's still a lot of Marauders. The medevac count is up to a good count at this point, but abusing this choke as much as possible and hoping eventually this army just runs out of steam, especially before the Viking count grows. Only the first two on their way now as the second Colossus joins up. Clem knows that he's got a stranglehold right now, so he's just rallying everything through the middle of the map. No Warp Prism is a bit of a bummer. The Zealots, though, coming in the nick of time, helping out here. Widowmines are burrowing, getting some nice connections, but you can see that the army of the Protoss, let's say the main army, the not Zealot army, is still intact. And the Zealots are coming in just in the nick of time, like I'm saying here. This is a little sketch without that Warp Prism, but it is barely working. SCVs have been pulled. Beyond knows he needs to dislodge this before it gets worse. He did not want that to snowball. 11 SCVs have gone down, and while he temporarily dislodged this, he didn't really push Clem back. He, again, did not hit the kind of main army, the Colossus, the Sentry, the Immortals. Good lord, a Colossus did almost go down right there, but still 3 Colossus intact. 2 Vikings do pop out. Should immediately grab this one. Yeah, they should just even grab that one. They're not. They're going for the other Colossus. Body block with the Stalkers is nice. The Vikings are finally getting the injured Colossus, but the Colossus have already done the damage. Clem, masterful display there. I mean, he just did exactly what he had to do to be able to win this fight. If he was far more cavalier about it, and again, didn't abuse this choke, didn't pull back and move in and pull back and move in, he could have lost the fight easily. Concave of Marauders, pretty freaking good. It's a lot worse when those Marauders are at half health. The medevacs are out of juice. And Clem is inches away from victory. In fact, even closer than that. Beyond does tap out. I gotta blame the 3 racks on that one, though. I mean, there's a chance that it works, and there's also like a good chance that the amount of bio is still something that like Protoss like underestimate, I suppose. But feels like Clem had a handle on that perfectly. It's Vegas, baby. Yep. Going to Vegas tomorrow. In the top right, we do have Bjorn. On the bottom left of White Rabbit, it is Clem. Gonna do any gambling, win big. I hopefully win big. If I come back a millionaire, I won't say it directly, but there will be signs. I'm just hoping to make enough money to pay for the event. If I could do that off of blackjack or something, that'd be great. I seem to be somewhat lucky when it comes to roulette, but obviously that is entirely luck-based, so see how I feel. I know how to play Texas Hold'em too, and I've played in like real world scenarios, right? But I've actually still never played in an actual casino, so that still does kind of scare me. I mean, I don't, you know, you see the dealer, you see all the people who are potentially tryhards, And you're like, oh no, someone's going to yell at me for not doing something right. I don't want to do this. Which has happened before. You know, sometimes, like a lot of times I feel like people who are gambling are also just people who are very casual about it or don't really know what they're doing. A lot of time the dealers, especially if you're not going to some like super big buy-in, you know, you're not going to like the back room or some shit. The dealers are ready or, you know, willing to explain the rules at the very least beforehand, so on and so forth. But we were in Korea once, and Korea has casinos, but Koreans can't play. You have to have a foreign passport to play. It's interesting, right? But anyway, so all the foreigners were there, and we were playing, and it was like me, Tasteless, Maynard, Roddy, like one or two other, like maybe Ziggy or someone. And so we take up most of a blackjack table, but not the entirety of a blackjack table. So there's one more spot, and this Chinese guy comes in and sits down. And we're playing, and just throughout the hands, we just hear this guy muttering to himself. Obviously very frustrated and angry, but it's fucking blackjack. So we're like, what does he have to be angry about? And, well, over the course of, I don't know, like the hour that we were there playing, which, by the way, the dealer loved us. She thought we were funny. She thought Tasteless was hilarious. Like, she kept on trying not to laugh at everything we were doing to be professional, but you could see her, like, breaking. Anyways, Maynard goes to the bathroom. The Chinese guy goes to the bathroom. Maynard comes back and is like, dude, that guy is so upset. Apparently, this guy just started, like, ranting at Maynard in the bathroom, you know, in a language that Maynard does not understand. And gist is, apparently we were bad at blackjack, and we were ruining the table for him, which I find funny. It's like, you're the one that joins the table. I think he joined because literally no other table even had people. So I guess he was kind of, you know, stuck with us, I suppose. But then he could just not play blackjack. Anyway, there's my blackjack story. Some people, they get a little upset when it comes to money, believe it or not. Almost as upset as they do about groceries. Working at a grocery store is so eye-opening now. A bunch of people care about their groceries. Anyway, there's a TVP happening. Fortunately, not much has happened. White Rabbit seems like a very large map. Weirdly enough, though, not that many bases. Again, this map, you know, where you look at the mini-map and you're like, well, there must be a base there, there must be a base there. Not really. Getting to a fifth base does seem like a bit of a trek. I imagine you take the fifth base here for both sides. Yeah. Yeah, okay. As far as the openers go, one rack expand, it's 111. We do have a marine drop on the way with Hellions. Was this a one rack expand? Well, whatever, regardless. 3 Hellions. So, marine drop into the main, interestingly enough, and then the Hellions are going to hit in the natural. No wall, so this could be deadly. Clem did go for a sentry opener this time around, so he's able to scout that it was a 111. And I think he saw at least a couple of Hellions. He's reacting rather strong so far. Shield Battery in the natural is going to help out. 3 Hellions do one-shot the probes, but only if they get that lineup. Marines in the main base are just going to be avoided for now, which is the best-case scenario. If you try and tackle them, you'll lose that one stalker. Let them get the pylon. That does delay blink, but it's better than losing all of your probes. So ditto on the natural, right? Like, prioritize that. The Hellions left. They come back in. Only 1 Hellion now, however, is not going to do a whole lot. At the end of the day, Bjorn does grab a handful of probes because he did focus fire with the main base towards the latter half of the fight. So 7 probes in total go down, but so does every unit in Bjorn's arsenal. I would say most importantly, Clem did not, again, let this just completely fall apart. Panicked. There would have been a lot more probes dead if he had. And he had a 3rd base building while also chronoing and building probes all during that. All right, I think that's the most important thing, really, is that the Nexus was building, it's finishing without any of your actions impacting that. You're just dealing with the harassment. Nexus finishes. It was a 2-gate Nexus. So I think Clem is going to be okay. Yes, maybe he could have saved 3 out of these 7 probes, because maybe he could have pulled the probes away from the Marines again when they were being focus fired, but it's a bit nitpicky. Beyond does have to worry a little bit about the counterattack, but with 2 tanks ready to go, I do mean he only has to worry a little bit. Maybe if the tank was completely alone, it would have died, but not much more. Hallucination, looking at, of course, the 3rd CC. You know, no swift 2-base follow-up. So there's that information, and Clem is once again going into Charge, Forge, and Robotics Bay. So he is liking this style. Again, I don't know how much he was experimenting with Storm during this whole patch mess that was the last month. He has to have had a little, just because I think it's fun. That's me talking. But it seems like he's his professional, I'm going to win, Protoss, bread and butter, is going to be this. Where I think a lot of other Protosses, like, of course they'll still do this bread and butter, 3-base, robotics bay, I feel like they are still incorporating more Storm. That said, it's only like the second TVP, third TVP I've seen from Clem in the past couple of weeks. Auto turret does manage to grab a Stalker, and the Raven does survive, so that's nice. Observer's killed, that'll be the first one. It says, as I was pointing out earlier, it seems to be a very large map. You also don't expand towards your opponent. You don't have to, certainly. Yeah, I mean, maybe Clem could have taken this space as his fourth, but I can certainly see why you wouldn't. And that way you're expanding horizontally. You're also still keeping a very fair distance away from the Terran. I think Bjorn should take this base then, actually. It's just a weird call just because it seems like it's farther away than this other thing, but they're probably the same distance, actually. It's just like it's so off to the right, I think, is really what's freaking me out. It's so off to the right that it looks like it would be a fourth on any other map. But it should be taking this space. I call it a triangle base, so it's a very lopsided triangle. And then he will have a bit more of a push from defense into Clem's fourth. Still, the map really forcing him to go way around before even entering into the fourth base. Raven still finding some probe damage here and there, being a bit of a nuisance. Beyond not eager to go for any follow-up push. Raven does finally get taken down. He was being a bit overconfident, though, wasn't it? Just kind of, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. Probably should have died. But yeah, Beyond's not doing any pushes before he is absolutely 100% ready to go. So combat shield's not yet done. The good news is, well, that seems a little late. 2-2 is actually quite well timed. Already having that upgrade lead over the Protoss. I know the Protoss inevitably gets to double forge, which Clem is currently at. The fact that Beyond should already be at his double, 2-2. There we go. Is a good sign. He does have a habit of getting that attack later, which is the worst of the habit to have, but oh well. Second robo on the way now for Clem. As Beyond probably just going to wait until he's even maxed out. Ghost, Viking count, heavy numbers. Again, maxed out. And maybe even waiting for Clem to push into him first. So yeah. Fourth base on the way. And taken all the way over there. Clem, I think he could push out now, yeah, especially with 3 Colossus. So many Zealots as well. He's on 5 gases, but it's so many Zealots. It almost feels like he should have a lot more gas, actually. But anyway, he is going to move out. Stalkers, there you are. Tracking the army a little bit ahead of time. Clem now moving out can have a couple of chokes to abuse again. This one in particular, but nice tank positioning on the high ground. That should last about 5 seconds. And then Zealots will come in around this side. Yep, exactly that. Looks like Clem not going to engage. Not going to engage. Doesn't like the looks of it. Doesn't trust that was the entire army. It was not. A little bit more. Was waiting perhaps in the natural for a potential Zealot run by. Viking count's already at 6, so that's also like a decent number to start at. More like 10, you would 1 against 3 Colossus. Dark Shrine's on the way. Disruptors are on the way. Clem was getting into Immortals in the game number 1, and that didn't really work out for him. Like they can seem very useless sometimes, like in these smaller battles after the dust clears, you look at like 2 Immortals up against still 20 Marines, and you're like, well, what are they really doing? The dust clears and there's 10 Marauders at half health, and the Immortals look freaking amazing. But anyway, sometimes they look great, sometimes they don't. Disruptors, ditto, but a lot more obvious, I guess. It's like very obviously, did they hit something or did they not? And they are going to be able to control space rather well, too. Fourth base, not yet a planetary. Clem had to walk quite a ways to get over here. So certainly not going to be able to ping-pong between bases. I mean, it's more likely that Clem ping-pongs between the fourth and like the natural, which wouldn't look very well because there'd be a huge concave on the top for the Terran. I was trying to find Beyond out of position. Only 1 Sensor Tower is up after all. Clem bounces back to the right side, grabs a medevac instantly. He's trying to focus maybe the Ghost, gets a Marauder. Disruptors do get out. This is a way you can also safeguard your retreat if you end up biting off more than you can chew, which perhaps Clam just did. Disruptors will at least buy that time. If not, get a good shot. And that was a good one, although the Disruptor will lose its life. Upgrades, 2-2 versus 2-1. Bjorn looking to take advantage of that. He's got the Colossus on the run, too. And the Vikings are eyeing it. Not quite going to be able to kill it, though. The Disruptors did a great job of buying that time, of getting some damage done, even as Clem was running away, and Clem is ready to go for round number 2, or maybe 3, whatever it is. Vikings do take down the low Colossus, and now only one left over. That Disruptor shot's going to completely whiff, and this is looking dangerous. Disruptor number 2 gets a better shot, but now we are down to this pure gateway unit, under-upgraded as well, and Clem is going to have to back away, look for his reinforcements, buy time with the Disruptor. Bjorn not confident to continue chasing. Just takes that. And we'll run into 5th base, Liberators. Though he got Caduceus Reactor first last time, so maybe we'll do that again. And wait on that 3-3 as well. Clem now at 3-2. Or going to be at 3-2. His upgrades, obviously, are all being lopsided, but he got Shield as a priority in game 1 as well. I wonder if he's going to do that again. Oh, how many bases are we on? Jeez. Wait, maybe 5th? 60. Wait, he's already going up to 7? Jesus, when did that happen? But I don't mind it at all. One of these was a double expand. More power to him. He was controlling the map. He might have to walk a fair distance between the Terran bases or away from his own base to get some aggression going. But on the other hand, that means if Bjorn takes a good fight, Bjorn has to run quite a ways to actually punish bases. So that gives Clem time to recover. Caduceus Reactor is the emphasis. I actually kind of like this. I mean, getting to like a proper Liberator army that is like a good number of Liberators with their upgrades does take a while, and it does feel like that gap that it takes to really get there can be quite excruciatingly painful for the Terran. Perhaps instead of just racing towards that position, instead stopping for the medevacs, make sure they have energy. But he's got plenty right now. He's forced to take an engagement. Probably really didn't want to. Was forced to flee all the way back to his planetary, into now a choke as well. DT's trying to get into the natural as well, but Bjorn handles that nicely. That was not his entire army. Once again, making sure to have some army ready for the run bys. Ready for DTs too, because he got an EMP off on some of them, I think. And yeah, then perhaps the Lib range. Did he end up getting that first game? I think maybe towards the very last seconds he might have. Because obviously I still think it's good to get, but I kind of like the experimenting with Caduceus first. 6 SCVs go down to DTs that use their blink to retreat. Clem getting a little crazy with the expansions. It's almost offensive. Bjorn, though, might not see it. If he does, he should absolutely target it, but he might not actually see it. The scan does not reveal it. His army's not quite close enough to see it either. It'll eventually see mining. That's going to take so long to see. As I was pointing out, it might be better to take this middle base as a 5th, and that's exactly what Bjorn is doing. Liberator already sieged up to protect it, but, well, the rocks are broken. That's great. That is one hell of a choke to push through your army. Oh my god, the Disruptors. Okay, last second split's going to be good enough. One Disruptor falls for it, and Bjorn is now, I think, on a safer side of this. DT is going to come in, perhaps blink behind the army. They blink into it. More army from Bjorn also coming around, trying to get a better concave. Liberator's going to have to siege up to help out here. So far, supplies are even. Concave is looking good for the Terran Vikings, tearing down those Colossus. And there it is. Bjorn takes the victory for that particular battle. But more Zealots are coming in here. His army is injured. He's now run away from the Liberators. Vikings are being targeted. And Clem is not out of it yet, of course. He's got plenty of gateways, plenty of money, triple robo as well. And so he can take losses of that size and still be fine. 5,000 resource difference, pretty acceptable. I mean, really, it is so much like TVZ, honestly, when you think about what's acceptable. When the Protoss has the bases they should. When they have a Zerg level of bases. Liberator is now finally taking advantage of the choke. They were in emergency mode beforehand. Now it's a little more calm, a little more controlled. Now Liberators very much drawing a line in the sand. And Clem is going to find it difficult to take care of that. He has not added on Stargates. I feel like we've seen a couple of the Protosses experimenting more with trying to get the Stargates in this position faster when they do have all the bases, when they are not quite able to kill the Terran. but not Clem, which means he's got to be taking fight after fight after fight, which is exactly what he's doing. Good disruptor shot. Stalkers stand their ground as much as they possibly can, but eventually Bio does reign supreme. Needs more zealots on the front line. Needs these Colossus to actually pop out. And the Liberators, well, hopefully they're shooting the wrong direction. So far they are not. They are nice and involved in this fight. The Bio on the ground is looking a little thin. Maybe the Liberators could be torn down, but there's still actually so many. There is a depth to these Liberators. Stalkers going down here as the Liberators do have +2. No, they don't. That was the first game. Wow, they don't have any upgrades. Oh no, Bjorn was very good about the upgrades in the first game, and now he has 0 armory upgrades. Yikes, I feel like I actually do... I think if you had to choose, you would actually want +2 ship weapons over Liberator range. Situational perhaps. Anyway, he doesn't have it, so the Stalkers are getting a better chance at actually killing the Liberators, and that is unfortunate. And I'm just worried that Bjorn is not going to ever realize. Doesn't seem like he will. Clem continues his aggressive expansions, as well as continuing to engage. Bjorn kind of nipping at Clem's heels once those zealots, especially, just kind of rush forward, so he rushes back through the choke, and the Liberators take them all out. Clem needs to pay attention to his army, not allow that to happen, but so far doing a good job of that. Liberators are going to have to constantly reposition right, left, right, left, right, left, but more bio was created. It is ready to tango. I mean, it's a lot of zealots. You can pull back into the Liberators. Colossus not going to go down anytime soon as the Viking numbers have been culled. They are now being replaced. Bjorn has taken losses in the last couple of battles, that's for sure. DT still not finding an extreme amount of damage, but it's almost a matter of time as the other one does just come back in here. Be annoying. Bjorn is on the ropes. He is absolutely on the ropes. This is where Liberator is supposed to help out, but the number 5 Liberator is not that impressive. He does remember to get the ship weapons, thankfully, so he's going to get at least +1. Some Vikings helping against the Colossus. Not a lot of Stalkers, too. And they're not focus firing currently. There they go, focus firing now. 3 Colossus will live. Disruptors so far not getting amazing shots, and Bjorn will hold this position. 7 SCVs did go down. Finally get to Liberator siege up on the orbital too. This factory does not quite see the Nexus. There we go. Now he's going to see it. He still doesn't know about this Nexus, however. At least he doesn't mind very much, but still just a sign of how much Clem is in control of this game. But it is so difficult for the Protoss to actually kill the Terran. And Clem has absolutely chosen to do this just by repetition, trying to win with battle after battle after battle. It's not quite working. And that does mean that Bjorn could eventually win a really good engagement. This might have been it, as he does take a supply lead, now chasing down Clem's army, in which case Clem, having to back away, won't be able to stand up to it. Now with the Liberator siege hopping as well. Reinforcements do come in, but Colossus are still falling without appropriate number of Stalkers. And the Bio is forced to retreat from the Disruptors, but now they're all gone. They're out of shots. This base is looking a little suspect. I think Bjorn could go for it. He does need those Liberators on the front line as well. Clem, with a bit of a bank, is continuing to reinforce reliably, though that bank is now almost gone. DT is once again having to come in, kind of save the day. Oh, Command Center is going to see this. That's so annoying. Again, most of the minerals are here. It's intact, but now he has to send something over to actually kill that. Because he does need that base. He needs one of these bases. He can't just set up a Liberator and say, at least you can't mine. He needs this base. Both players still in need of resources. No one with an incredible bank. Clem having depleted the small bank that he did have. You can see that last battle did go really well for Bjorn. What was 5,000 resources lost before that, now 9,000. And that's just that's what's so scary. You know, the Tempest and the Stargate transition doesn't seem to be really working out versus late game Terran from these other TVPs we've seen. But then, you know, if you are just going to try and win the game by battering the Terran down, you're basically with every battle taking a bit of a gamble, I suppose, in that like the Terran could win it so hard. Their army is very good. And once they win it in a way that they're up 40 or 50 supply, they are racing across the map to suddenly topple this infrastructure that you've spent the entire game building. Suddenly 2 Nexus, 3 Nexus fall, suddenly you're on the ropes of your own natural, unable to defend the greater army. This is what's really scary for Clem. Great concave for Bjorn. Disruptor's not getting great shots. Liberators are supporting against the Zealots. Yes, the Colossus are intact, but I fear that it's not killing very many units. One of them does go down to the Marauders. So many medevacs, personal healers for everyone. And this army just does not go down very quickly. More Zealots are being warped in thanks to the proxy nexus we got going on, though. And that might be able to tip the scales a little bit. Clem holds on. Although it feels like this space should be priority for Beyond the Kill. As soon as he reaches over there with any amount of bio, that's when Clem enters into this space and kills it. So this is a bit of a conundrum for Beyond, who tried to get this space instead, but this has been a Nexus as well for a while. I don't even know. Did the factory die? It did. Hopefully he doesn't need another starport. He is only at 2, but since we are not going into Sky Toss, I don't think he'll need 3 starports. Bio does head over to the right side. He really wants his other base, but like I was saying, as soon as he reaches over to one of these Nexus, this orbital is going to be under fire. Not a planetary, very few Liberators protecting it. Beyond also needs to be mindful of his gas, entering into that late-game Terran problem. I don't need that much gas. Oh shit, I need a lot of gas. I think we're there. We're officially there, actually. The gases have not been saturated here. These are out of gas. This one has never been rebuilt. That actually be a big problem. You go and try and remax after a decent battle, and suddenly you're not able to even build Marauders. That is a kick in the nuts for Terran's momentum. And Beyond has not been able to not just take these bases. He loses that planetary that was building. He's also not been able to kill them. And it's kind of funny. It's like as soon as these became noticed by Beyond is when Clem started to actually build probes for it. And actually try and saturate it. That's where the probe losses happen. On that left side, it was the transferring probes. Like, oh no, now he knows. Let me try and like steal as many minerals as possible. Viking numbers are extremely high. Very good for the Colossus. Stalkers take down a couple, but they do have to retreat. The Vikings continue to chase after. Not quite killing the Colossus, getting them awfully low. Clem's army clearly backing the entirety away, but that doesn't mean that his entire army is actually cowering. There are DTs and Zealot run-bys that are always possible. And, they're not doing very much. There's the fear. There's absolutely the fear that they eventually will. This Liberator missile turret combo paying dividends. Little oversaturation right there in the gases. I know he needs gas, but that's not quite how to get it. And the medevac gets shot down. We are getting to a game of inches, it feels like. Despite all the bases being taken, there's been so many battles. Neither player has ever had a comfortable bank, and so Stalker mobility, getting a medevac or a Viking that's just being mismicroed, that this could be important stuff as this game continues on without a victor quite in sight. Although Bjorn's army is better. It's bigger and better in the ideal scenarios, concaves, preemptive EMPs, Liberators sieged up. Clem's army does still have that mobility. It still has a little volatility with the Disruptors. They could get great shots. That's where he has his power, and so this could still go either way. A main battle, though, if all the AoEs killed beforehand, good lord. Bjorn could win this, of course. He wants to take the battle here. It starts off pretty well for him. Colossus are all gone. Disruptors being very conservative with their shots, but this is not the situation for Disruptors. Look how big this concave is. The rest of the army comes in. Yes, that Disruptor shot was good, but can he get another one? He can get another one. Whoops-a-daisy. Beyond thought he could focus fire down. He couldn't, but that is still so much bio left over. The Disruptors make the supplies look even, but the reinforcements coming in are just Zealots and Stalkers. Yes, the army is injured. We got a medevac that has to unload as well, but it's just enough. It's just the critical mass that you need so many more Zealots to actually take down. Emergency DTs coming in, hoping to save the day. Scans are available, but we also have DTs in the main base. Missile turret plus Liberator helping out there. Clem does control him. He's going to have to give up this base 100%. He recognizes that, now focuses on what matters, and that's DTs causing carnage in the main base. Killing reinforcements, killing production as well. Zealots, no, those are probes. Oh my god. Probes, making sure this base doesn't get grounded as well, because Bjorn is literally running out of minerals to mine from. The gas stayed actually kind of okay. He was able to keep enough gas, I guess. It's now the minerals that are the big problem. Won't be able to afford Marines very soon. Pylon block to be cheeky. Clem has a limited time where he could really truly stop this, but now this is the most important base. This one is probably going to have to be forfeit to these harassing units. Like, you don't let it die, of course, but I mean, there are going to be harassing units on this orbital and this orbital every time you blink. And you can really only defend one or the other in this situation. Both of you on a low supply. Beyond doesn't have the Liberators that would be able to siege up either. I think he's got one still siege up in the main. He's got 2 in total. Orbital, definitely don't want to lose that one. He needs the orbital. Great snipe on the medevac. He's talking about this is going to get a game of inches here. That includes also keeping DTs alive, which it looks like this one will survive. Stalkers go in, DT goes in. This time, yes, we have more than just probes going in on this space too. All the SCVs, all the mules. Bjorn has to defend this. His army is relatively close. He's going to stim and try and take the battle. Medevac counts is only at 4, but it's a lot of energy. Thank goodness for a Caduceus reactor. One orbital is saved, but another falls. The middle orbital is taken down. Clem recognized the weakness and has abused it. Left, right, left, right. Bjorn had a little hit squad actually defending this orbital, funnily enough, so it was really, trying to defend 3 orbitals across the entire span of the map. It's going to be difficult to do. But you choose one or the other, right? Just keep one alive at least. How many orbitals are we down to, by the way? We got 4, that's plenty. Although we also need mules, but you need scans for the DTs. EMPs blanket the army off on the backside as well. This is really important, actually. Bjorn's backside army turning this into an almost surround is fantastic. Clem was not expecting that, and he might lose his entire army. He cannot replace this one. Stalkers are dead. Colossus are dead. Bjorn gunning for the last remnants of Clem's army. That is still a lot of bio left over, and Clem acknowledges that is too much. Bjorn takes game 2 after 27.5 minutes. What a banger, though. That was getting very dangerous. Clem was doing a great job back and forth. He recognized the weakness. At the end of the day, though, his army was still going to be that fragile Protoss army. He thought he found a good engagement. And if that really was all of Bjorn's army, it probably was a fine engagement. But Bjorn had that second army that was defending the harassment, coming in at that super clutch time, made the end game battle his. GG's. No Storm versus Bio. Yeah, Clem's doing very non-Storm Protoss. It's very, old school, it feels like, at this point. Most of the Protosses opening with Storm, getting Storm in the mid-game, getting Storm in the late game. It's like now that Storm has had a light shown on it, people are obviously going to use it more. And of course it's better, sure. But I honestly believe the frequency of things comes a lot down to just the patch, you know what I mean? Like, of course, if something is obviously overpowered, everyone's going to abuse it. But even just something being changed, and people are like, oh yeah, I should play with that, why not? I was already a big believer in Storm in the late game. Even before the patch. I feel like, especially because Protoss were getting to these 6, 7 base positions, and they were getting 3,000, 2,000 bank, I was like, Storm, drop in the bucket at this point, but still could probably pay off. Because Storm is almost always great when it comes to stopping the Terran's momentum. Game 2 here is going to be on Andromeda, a map we have seen already. Bottom left, Bjorn. Top right, Clem. Bjorn barely getting that win. But yeah, Storm is always so great at stopping the Terran's momentum in a way that I don't think Disruptors kind of match. There's a similar idea, Disruptors and Storm, excuse me, as far as running away with them. Protoss doesn't win the battle. They go, oh shit, they start running away. Disruptors get thrown out. Did a great job buying time in game 2, or whatever it was. Was that game 3? It was game 3. And that was, a good case for them. But I still think they don't quite do it the same way that Storm does. Both units, kind of sacrificial. Throw down a Storm, the High Templar dies, probably. It's so slow. Throw down a Disruptor shot, Disruptor dies, probably. It's so slow. But where Storm is where Disruptors are dodgeable, Storm, especially since the patch, is less dodgeable. And with the patch, they do really seem to be intending to make it more of a zoning spell. So it becomes even better at this role of late game momentum stopper. When the Terran thinks, oh my god, I've won the battle, all the disruptor shots are gone, all the Colossus are dead, I've EMP'd the storms that I see, let's stim and win. And then a Protoss has a cheeky storm waiting at that third base. It is so good. So I've always been a big believer in it, but apparently Clam not so much in general, really wanting to use the storm. And that last game, I think there was a time in which he could have afforded storm and made use of it. Because he did, he was so aggressive with the expansions. There was a time he was like 7 or 8 bases. And he did have a bit of a bank. I think the most he got was 2,000, 1,000, so not an incredible one, but... And then after a certain point, clearly the game was way too tight to make that decision or afford that upgrade, but... I also feel like a lot of those small battles were... they looked really tempting for storms, if he only had them. Anyway. I like it when I see it. Confirmation bias, probably. Whatever. As I've been saying, Clem doesn't really seem to want to play with Storm. Beyond changing things up quite a bit from the get-go. He's going 3 CC off of a single barracks. Literally the greediest thing you can do. It's going to work as far as having it, your third CC, well, unless Clem 4 gates, which could happen. But without Clem already doing something aggressive and a couple of adepts being annoying does not count. This third CC is going to work out as far as its build. What more so is the question is how early Clem figures out that it's third CC, not to damage it, not to kill it, but rather to macro counter it. Say, oh, you're going 3C. Okay, so you can't attack me either. Oh, okay. Let me do this. Let me go double forge. Let me go faster 4th or faster 5th. Let me hold off on producing units, because then I can afford these other things, because you're not attacking me for so long. I did say, unless Clem 4 gated, and then, well, that's actually what he does. So just pivot. 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 Now, 4 gate is going to be very dangerous to this, obviously. Beyond, he doesn't expect a 4 gate. Like, nowadays, 4 gates aren't very popular in the first place, right? But then Clam, not really known for 4 gating. Yeah, 4 gate is perfect in this situation. It's absolutely perfect. I don't think Clem has really been told anything that, this is a 3cc build. At most, he sees this that it is the 1 Marine into reactor, which is something that Beyond did in game number 1 as well. But not to go into a third CC. Now he's figuring, okay, there's no factory unit, so what's up with that? But I still don't think there's anything that says this is a 3cc. This is Clem, more so I would suspect, wanting to shock and awe Beyond no matter what build Beyond is doing with a 4 gate, being like, hey, I'm kind of cheesing you and you're not expecting it. But, in this case, it's going to work out so well versus the 3cc. Caveat is, if Clam doesn't use some incredible micro and positioning and really make the first blink work, the 3cc barracks, now producing Marauders, does eventually give you a critical mass of bio. So there's like a sliver here where Clem could absolutely win the game. But I'm not going to say that it's super easy, nor is it, what's the word? A hard counter. There we go. Hard counter. I don't think it's a hard counter. Stalker so far unable to even kill the bunker. Clem still doesn't quite know it's a third CC, but he has seen the amount of bio. Bunker still not going to go down. We already have the third Nexus on the way as well. So this also doesn't feel like it was super committed. Charge on the way. Keep double checking because it almost feels like it's a 3 gate, but it is absolutely a 4 gate. And this is where I think the critical mass is already, it's already here. Yeah, Clem has to run away. And this makes it really awkward now for Clem. Because theoretically, the Stalkers could be more bullies. And they're going to try and bully as long as they possibly can, right? Abuse the fact that there's no medevacs, but it's still only a limited amount of time before they're out. But he didn't do a lot with his aggression, nor has he done a lot in the macro sense. So this seems problematic for Clem now. Honestly, the amount of times that I have seen a 4-gate versus a 3cc, I feel like the 4-gate hasn't actually worked that much. It feels like it should. It should find something, and then it is not able to. Sometimes Max Pax can do it. He can win straight up with it, but he is the world's best 4-gate user. And while Clem is very good, he does not hold that title. So now it's a bit of a conundrum. Clem did not supercharge an economy, but he did not do a lot of damage, or any damage at all, to Bjorn's. 2 SCVs went down. Clem actually warping in Zealots right now is interesting indeed. That's still a lot of bio, though. 3 medevacs, 4 medevacs only, still, you know, something. Zealots are buying a lot of time, all before this +1 infantry weapons finishes. As bio is going to survive. Widowmine Widowmine's going to react to the Warp Prism in the main. Bio stays behind on the third. Clem going for some multitasking interruption, hoping that it catches a handful of SCVs. So far, 5 have gone down. But, you know, that's a lot of Zealots. 2 more going to fall. Warp Prism is going to get away fully healthy. Overall resource trade not favoring Clem at this point. But I feel like this is almost trying to peacock a little bit. You know, like you're puffing up your chest, you're being more aggressive than perhaps one would think. You're keeping tabs on the Terran, and you're not letting them just macro perfectly off of this 3cc so that they just stomp across the map and kill you. You're making things a little more chaotic. Warp Prism goes in the natural, not going to find any success. Stalker is still being repelled at the third. All while Clem takes the 4th base, gets the robotics bay. Another medevac did go down. Zealots once again buying a lot of time. So the Stalkers focus fire down some more SCVs. Now very close to even being able to focus down these Marauders, honestly. They're not getting healed back up. They're actually going down right now. And Bjorn, having to split his army, is starting to lose out on these battles. Supply is staying even this entire time. Or against, you know, Mass Gateway, you expect the bio to kind of win out at some point, but just because it's split so much, it's not looking nearly as good as it should. Warp Prism drops off Zealots in the natural, then goes into the main. More Zealots over there. Again, not that much army left at the third base. Stalker's going to take advantage of that, kill another medevac, get more SCVs, and Bjorn, well, this has just gone away from him, hasn't it? Clem makes this look like this was how it was supposed to go, and I can guarantee it was absolutely not. Clem takes game 2, or takes his second point, game 4, in a fashion that I would never have predicted. Methodically pulling at threads. Initially, you're looking at him, and it's like, what are you going to do? You're not going to unravel this entire tapestry just by pulling 1 or 2 strings. What are you doing? And then 3 minutes later, the entire tapestry is just unwoven, lying on the ground, dead. And you're like, oh, all right, I guess that's fair enough. I think that was quite impressive. I really thought Bjorn was going to be able to consolidate and eventually just be like, no, I got the better army. Just fuck off kindly. Did not happen. GG's. Why are battlecruisers so niche for Terrans? Because. Yep, that's a good answer. Because. No. It's an interesting question. Kind of, you know, you have to ask me, like, what matchup as well, though. Because Nathanius built all of them, all the battlecruisers. They're all Nathaniuses. I think it's a couple of things, really. It's everything about StarCraft 2, or even StarCraft 1, actually. It's everything about StarCraft that makes it StarCraft, that makes Terran the Terran race. Because they're simply not comparable. like, technically all the races aren't comparable in a lot of ways, right? It's asymmetrical balance and all that. But it's not comparable, you know, like why do Protoss get to Tempests in versus Zerg and versus Terran, but, you know, you never see Terrans go battlecruisers versus the two. And it's a lot. Terrans have, I think, better, like, scaling in a lot of situations with their tier 1 units, getting into upgrades, getting into medevacs, supported by factory units. I think the addition of, like, the production of Terran is kind of one track as well, where you just, it seems far more difficult to get into a lot of starports and actually create things from those starports than it is for the Protoss and the Zerg. Zerg, obviously, larva. They got the money. They can do whatever they want with the eggs. But even for Protoss with Chrono Boost, still feels nicer for them to get the Tempests. Which I believe, like, you know, aren't battlecruisers the most expensive and the slowest building? Battlecruisers also kind of have to get into the thick of things as far as fights go. When you think of Tempests, they can be actually quite useful even in a lower number because they have so much range. I don't know, but, like, the thing is, they might not be as commonly found. When they are created, they are probably the best army in the game. If you get to mass battlecruisers, it's probably the best army in the game. So I think that makes them in a fine position. I do kind of miss seeing battlecruiser openers versus Zerg. And I'm always excited seeing any amount of battlecruiser opener versus, Protoss, but it's okay. All right. Game 5 here on Winter Madness, I assume is what that says. In the top left, it is Clem. In the bottom right, it is Bjorn. Winter Mad Ned? Probably not. Is this live? Is it, though? How do we know it's really live? How do we know our eyes are real? At the end of the day, I think my response to that battlecruiser question is probably just because they're the most expensive and slowest building. I think that it's probably one of the better, just like catch-all response to that. Anyway, we got Bjorn going for a proxy-ish. You know, it's not very close to your opponent, but it is out in the middle of nowhere. How does the probe scout? It looks like Bjorn has played this map enough to know that the probe will go through the middle and then to the left of where he is positioning his barracks. So, as I was saying, this is the TLMC like tournament. So, and this is the round of 8. So that they've been playing on all these maps for a while. So Bjorn hides 2 barracks. Proxy is a strong word, but they are closer than they would be if they were built here. Clem, of course, sees the lack of barracks and is like, ah, shit. He's only 1 gas. Not gonna find these barracks, is he? I would suspect not. But interesting that we're gonna do this 2 racks. Again, not as proxied as you could. What is this 3rd SCV gonna do? Oh, that's a 2nd SCV. It was just roaming around. And then, yeah, still going to Reapers. It's Reapers, Marauders, both, again, would have been better, even more proxied to the opponent. Interesting opener. The Reaper does not immediately go across the map either. It spends time killing the probe. For Clem, you know, he has no idea that it's 2 barracks. This could look like a single barracks that is just hidden somewhere just to throw off the Protoss. People called the Maka racks. It is going to be 3... What a weird opener. High ground command center, because 3 Reapers is all he's going to have for a while. And Bjorn didn't do any scouting either. Clem responds to the threat of proxies very seriously, as he should. Builds a second gateway immediately. Finally sees what it is. A stalker found the Reapers, unfortunately dies without killing any one of them. But Clem does have double gateway, and while I don't think that's exactly what you would want against this, I'm pretty sure if you knew for a fact that this was 3 Reapers that were going to spend a lot of time not attacking you, yeah, I don't think you would want the second gateway. You would make do with maybe a shield battery and 1 gateway production, but you would not have been able to know. Yeah, he's definitely not going to get snowballed. Interesting. Factories built behind this alongside of starports. Beyond builds a bunker. You know, I think he knows that a 2 gateway is a very realistic response to what he did. And then if the 2 gateway defensively doesn't have to defend, it can be used offensively. So he's being very cautious. Feels like he's certainly had that exact same result happen before. This feels like the cautious Terran who just played a game where he died for doing this. Where he was cheeky barracks, only 3 Reapers, says, ah, I gotcha, and then the Protoss is like, well, screw you too, and then attacks him. Like, this is so cautious. Bunker on the high ground, before salvaging that one, builds a bunker in the natural, making sure nothing gets super silly. And, well, he will absolutely get his 2 base up. He can now salvage this, and he goes into what is looking like kind of a normal build. But what a way to open. Part of me is still wondering if he wanted something different out of this. But I can't imagine what he would want. Hopefully he's happy with the delayed technology. Because that's really the only thing that was delayed with the second gateway. What a Mine drop is on the way. This will be the first real scout from Bjorn. All he saw was that a Nexus was built. Doesn't know if it's Blink or Stargate or Robo. Reapers could also dive into the main. They have not done that. Seems like he's been okay with just seeing the units. And he has seen, I think, a decent number of Stalkers, so he probably assumes it's Blink. 2 base Storm. Before the 3rd seems to be a popular build right now. Wouldn't mind drop waiting patiently. I mean, Bjorn doesn't have a secondary attack ready to go at all. And yet, no, he gets a medevac. He is going to attack. Getting a second medevac like this, even though it looks like a very small army, is going to go across the map and buddy up with the Widowmine drop. Reapers did try and dive into the main, by the way, but units were there, so they did not get a scout at all. He will not know that it is going into Storm this quickly. Although this has been a delayed and more delayed 3rd. And while some delay can be excused by the opening oddness, an extended delay might point you towards this Storm build. Yeah, I really thought the second medevac was a sign that he was going to push out, by the way. Not that I'm saying a push out would have been a good idea or not. I don't know. But usually, 1 medevac for the drop, second medevac, because you're going to do something else out on the map with said medevac. Otherwise, you get the Liberator, you get the Banshees, you get the add-ons for the rest of your production. You don't get a second medevac, so. But it seems like this is going to be a second drop. Or maybe he was going to push if he had seen a 3rd Nexus. That is also very possible. And then decided, no 3rd Nexus, this is too safe. I'm not going to try and take advantage of it. All right, then. Not sure what that scan was for. Did he kill the Observer? He did. Second medevac. At least is going to position itself. First medevac had never gone in. Signs point to the Storm. Bjorn can't just immediately get to Ghost, however. It's just too expensive to do that. I'm sure he's wary of it. He might even be afraid that the opponent is going to attack him, which is a very real fear. Here comes the Warp Prism. Storm is done. Charge is done. Clem could start to take control over his opponent's side of the map. Scan kills another Observer, and 3rd one is there. Kill 1 Observer, another one pops up. There is that Ghost Academy. Even this is kind of... It's not risky, that's not the right word. It's expensive. It's expensive. All before the 3rd CC is even done, much less saturated. But it is necessary, considering how fast the storm is. Woodamine drop doesn't kill a lot so far, but drop in the main as well as the attack on the third. Beyond just hitting all the locations at once. And one thing Clem does not have is a lot of units. He has a strong unit in the form of the High Templar and Storm, but he doesn't have a lot. And so far, this is Clem taking too much damage. So far, maybe game-ending damage. I don't think the Woodamines did a lot of this damage, though. It was 20 probes killed, majority by the Marines in the main, perhaps the third too, and then maybe some from the Woodamines that were cleaned up. At the end of the day, this leaves Clem with only one base, saturated, trying to replace all the killed probes. That was so much damage. That was so much. That was a wonderful three-pronged attack, taking advantage of the limited number of units. Storms love when you're just a whole single army attacking into them. They are not so keen on being used on 2 Woodamines or being in position for an 8 Marine drop. And they weren't even positioned for the actual main army because Clem had no idea that it was on the way, or maybe not no idea, but didn't realize it was coming in from that angle. His observers were repeatedly killed, and even though he did seem to follow them up very quickly, still, he lost vision. Once again, losing vision. So no observers means Woodamines. Doesn't know if there's going to be a whole minefield of them or not. Bunker is still up. Ghosts appear. All feedbacked, though. Those are the 3 very important first ghosts. This is Clem's time to make something happen, but already dwindled down to just the storms. Oh, no. Oh, no. That was not it. Attack happened at the same time. Looks like he was able to repel that without losing economy, but I'm guessing there was a bit of a trade at the very least on the army. Warpism is still alive, going to go for a storm drop, the best that he can do right now, but a missile turret's even available. Yeah, that storm is pretty good. Kills 4 SCVs. Is it going to make up for all the damage from earlier? Not so much. Clem lost those 20 probes. Then he goes for a counterattack that seemed like it might have had some potential, but it was just too small of an army. And Beyond should be feeling very good about this game in this series. Very good. He's still got 2 tanks to help him against the High Templars. He's going to get EMPs next time. Those were feedback, which looked great, but still wasn't enough. Now he's definitely going to have EMPs for the next fight. He's already building up his Viking count, too. So he's going to have a good number of Vikings against Clem's Colossus, which are just only now building. And not even that. Still waiting on the robotics bay. 4th base is done. Clem has gotten back up to 69 probes. Yeah. But with such a dip. I mean, dips everywhere, I guess. But still, such a dip for Clem's economy. I'm not going to say there's it's all hopeless. Storms can be pretty good. I'm also kind of excited to see Clem utilize the storms, but so far his storm opener hasn't worked out for him. EMP on the left side does catch a handful of storm. I mean, it got like 2 High Templars. Maybe he took away 2 or 3 storms. Still 8 High Templars on the field overall. 1 of them in the Warp Prism, so a little storm zealot action in the main. Beyond does not want to continue being aggressive. The more that he isn't aggressive, the more that Clem does have opportunities to come back. He's adding on those Colossus, now 2 at a time with the second Robo done. Double Forge pumping out to 3-1. As Beyond only just now starts 2-2. Second starport on the way, 3 extra barracks. No missile turrets in the main. Uh-oh. And not that many SCVs to kill, though, funnily enough. Quick pickup, quick reaction. Does not want this to snowball with more Zealot reinforcements. SCVs are pulled into it because reinforcements were coming in. But no armor on these Zealots. Plenty of damage, though, and they do ransack the SCV line. 12 go down. Warp Prism is able to escape. It's somewhere. I don't think my camera goes far enough down. Or did he recall already? He recalled already. It's been instantly recalled after he dropped off the Zealots. Alright, so does that mean that Clem is now, like, totally fine? This is actually a lot like that first game scenario in my mind. Which is that Clem can look fine, but the earlier damage taken still doesn't put him in the same position that he would want. In the first game, you know, he was only on 5 bases. Almost got to the 6th or something like that. compared to the game, what was it, game 3, which is more passive, no one really did a lot of damage to each other, and Clem was aggressively taking his 8th and 9th Nexus. You know, like, this is what it feels like the difference is. Clem still lost that game, to be fair, though, but still. He doesn't have this amazing economy to fall back on when Bjorn starts taking good engagements. It's kind of a when, not if scenario. Warp Prism tries to go into the natural, but there are missile turrets there, so doesn't want to sacrifice itself. I am a bit surprised we have gone so far and gotten so even, though, considering 20 probes died earlier on. EMPs do hit a lot of the army, but Bjorn was awfully clumped up before he finally pulled back. He was trying to get his ducks in a row when Clem decided to pounce on him. Colossus got injured, but all the High Templars remain totally intact, with plenty of storms as well. Scan ahead doesn't see the army. That scan does. He's like, do I scan again? Do I want that observer? Do I want to respond? Do I want to defend? What am I doing? Planetary is going to help out with a little bit of this choke as well. Storms on the left side, hoping to catch a bigger portion of the army. Just catch a little and die for it. Blink over to the left as well. Storm's going to be helpful for guarding the Colossus against the Vikings, too. And as we are getting into a late-game scenario, this is where I really do believe the Storms are going to be extremely helpful for the retreats. If Bjorn takes a good fight, there will not only be disruptors, which are now being made to try and buy time, there will also be the storms and the threats of storms. Like, Bjorn will always have to scan ahead. He will always have to remember to have an EMP available. There's not going to be a one-and-done fight if Clem appropriately splits his High Templars anyway, doesn't just F2 them all to the front line. Caduceus Reactor, once again, the emphasis here, but this time around, the ship weapons were as on point as that game 1, so already working on +2. Dark Shrine is being built. Clem getting into that late-game infrastructure as well, since he is now on 6, going on to 7 bases. Rich Vespian Geyser, by the way, here. I assume the same on the other side. Liberators are on their way out. And yeah, we're getting into a late game. I mean, 20 probes were killed fairly early on in the game. And yet Clem was able to stand with a decent supply the entire time. Well. This time around, Clem is not going to try and just break down the Terran. Through sheer force of will, army after army fight, he's actually going to add on that Stargate, trying to go into Tempest. Problem is, as I said earlier, it doesn't really feel like Protoss are winning with either option against the best Terrans in the world as we do go into this kind of late game. This fight does look pretty good for Clem, though. I mean, where is the rest of Bjorn's supply? I got no idea. Where's the rest of the bio? Going to respond to the main base. That's what happened. Warpers went to the main. Big distraction. A lot of bio forced to respond. Fortunately, it looks like Clem didn't... I don't know if he didn't believe that was actually as vulnerable as it was, or just was still fearful of the Vikings that were left over, or the Liberators that were coming forth. Either way, Clem does take a supply lead. Some of that is in probes. And because he is investing into Stargate Fleet Beacon, he might not be replacing his supply, instead leaving it open for those units. Bjorn, the more that the Protoss doesn't just try and attack, the more that you are suspicious it's going to be Stargates. We might be seeing Bjorn scan main the natural in the next, I don't know, 2 minutes maybe. He does need to know about this and start to build up an appropriate number of Vikings. You know, 5 ain't gonna cut it if suddenly 6 Tempest show up. Little dance between the EMPs and the storms. Got snipes going down as well. Clem can't stop Bjorn forever from getting down this ramp and onto this base, but he is gonna try and delay it. It's not gonna be Tempest first, it's gonna be carriers, so either way. Capital ships. Lib range on the way, high staccato tracking, building armor, +3 ship weapons, which doesn't affect the Liberator kill count. But it's obviously good for the Vikings and what is going to become a Sky Terran versus Sky Toss war. Meanwhile, Clem did manage to get that +1 at least with his single cybernetics core. Has a second one now and should be adding on upgrades. Beyond still does not know about the Stargate transition. He might not know, actually, until carriers arrive. This might be a bit too hard to read, because Clem is sharking around for a fight, even if he's not necessarily taking them. Like, he's certainly not taking as many fights as he was in the game where he wasn't going to Stargate, but it'd be very hard to tell in the game. Maybe he just doesn't have as many opportunities. Thank goodness ghosts don't get one shot by disruptors anymore. Another starport's on the way, and that is, again, going to be very helpful for what this game is moving into. Zealots run by in the third, which is a bit open. There's nothing actually scouting that, so it'll probably be fixed later on. Liberators stay where they are. With all these chokes here, this is going to be difficult for Clem to break. Not impossible. He's just going to have to full send it, which I don't think he's quite willing to do. A lot of bio went to respond to the Zealots, making sure they don't do a ton of damage. One engineering bay went down. I guess that was the second one, actually. All the upgrades are already done. All he needs is one then. Planetary, double planetary actually at the 4th base. Notice he already got that. So 5 base now. Very secure. Except for this pathway leading to the 3rd, which I guess this is now going to be able to scout. Clem also very comfortable on the bank. He's accruing, and the economy he's getting. Lots of bases, 75 probes. Which, I mean, could be more, I guess, but some Protoss would maybe be up to 85 probes. Others would decide not to and have that in the overall army supply. 4 more carriers being added on make 9. All before Bjorn has technically seen or noticed this is the case. I mean, certainly the ground army of the Protoss has gotten smaller and smaller without being reinforced, but again, it's really difficult to read in a game. We have the benefit of God vision. And it is becoming more and more worrisome. I do believe the best case scenario for Bjorn was scanning the main 2 minutes ago and adjusting his composition accordingly. Because right now he's got 22 Marauders, and you don't want to get rid of all your Marauders, of course. But if you do need more Vikings, and I would say he does, like, this is something you might want to sacrifice, or even your SCVs, because they're Terran, and it's super late game. At least he does have the triple starport, so he is ready to tech swap, if you will. Finally get some damage on his opponent, too. So much of Bjorn just defending. This comes in as a surprise to both Clem and me, but carriers arrive, as I said, completely unscouted. Immediately EMP'd, and the Vikings that are here do manage to damage quite a few of them. Even kill one of them. Interceptor is also being taken out with the anti-air and the missile turrets that are available, so that actually wasn't as bad as it could have been. 12 probes go down, the Nexus falls as well. Clem was going for the haha gotcha move in, which kind of looked promising to me as well, but not nearly as promising as it was supposed to be. Care is still at a count of 7, but many of them without their interceptors. I guess don't underestimate the help that the missile turrets are providing, especially as they do have building armor and the extra range. This little hit squad has finally been cleared up, and I think we are going to replace that more so with the Vikings. There we go, 4 Vikings at a time. Could be up to 6. Oh, because he's also building medevacs. That math, duh. And good on him for counting the medevacs, too. 4 is that number that you want to be at least. $333 for Bjorn's bio and his attack. He's also investing into armor upgrades. Clem, 332 for his ground. And then I guess 212 for his air. I don't know why. It does feel like upgrades have a certain order. You know? That's why, like, I said it that way. But it's not the order that's on this overlay. I guess what I'm thinking of is the order of the upgrades when you research them. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. But it kind of feels wrong to do anything else. It's still kind of, no one knows what I'm talking about. They're going to have to look at the screen. Be like, 3, 2, what? Like, what is the attack? What is the armor? But to me, it's very clear. Like, it's the way that you, like, it's on the upgrade, the actual forge. I am so shocked that this is even going to be a longer late game than our previous ones. Like, how is this game the one where it happens? Opened up with the 2 racks, first of all. Not that it was a very impressive 2 racks. It was kind of it was a really weird 2 racks. Goes into a later third base with the Protoss. They lose 20 probes. And what I thought was a very efficient attack. It's not like Bjorn gave up his entire army for it. And it still goes to 23 minutes. Another attack on this base. It worked once before. Could it work again? Not so much. Recall this time used. Our last one really worked out. More so because Clem was kind of prepping an attack. His carriers were about to hit. Speaking of his carriers, half of them were recalled, half of them were not. And that is something that Bjorn takes advantage of. Comes in on this base with, oh my god, 22 Vikings. Ay, ay, ay. The Sky Toss did not stand a chance. Not helped by Stalkers, not helped by Storms. Not enough was left behind, and what was EMP'd and destroyed by the bio as well. Vikings just took that down. Although, shockingly, the Nexus goes on mining as if nothing occurred. How did that happen? Down to 16 Vikings at this point, but yeah, so many carriers went down. 7 have fallen. 102 Zealots, by the way. Both players back away, kind of licking their wounds, because while that looked amazing, that was, again, only a portion of Clem's army, so the rest of the army obviously showed up. And then, yeah, the economy wasn't touched. The Nexus barely even got injured. 5 Liberators are on the way. Okay. You gotta be careful, of course. I mean, you're both tracking each other's composition. Either player could try and go, like, back into ground or back into air without the other one knowing, right? But you definitely don't want to overmake Liberators or undermake them. They are still an important part of the army. Ditto on the Ghosts. Even ditto on the Bio. The Bio is not necessarily what we're really highlighting at this point, but you don't just not have any Marauders or Marines. Oh, those are some pretty good Storms. Ooh, that injured everything. Ooh, Bio and Mechanical alike getting injured. Liberators left without defenses. Tempest happily take those down. Here's those Vikings, though. 15 Vikings still in the sky is pretty scary, but they are injured, getting further injured as the High Templars. Not in danger yet from the EMPs. Again, trying his best to get wins with the micro of the Vikings alone. And he is getting kills, but the SCVs might want to come over and repair these. And as soon as the Vikings move away, the Liberators are going to be targeted, and there the dance continues. Beyond taking that opportunity to go for at least one of these Nexuses, finally. Should be able to kill this one. He'll sacrifice quite a lot of his sky, though. But maybe worth it? We're question will definitely kill it. Probe's going down as well, and Bjorn will finally give up that position of the Liberators. What he has left behind are quite a few Ghosts, but maybe he didn't leave them behind. Maybe a little bit of a bait. Storm clears out this army temporarily, but where are the rest of the Storms? Here they come now. EMPs are clearly available, but Bjorn not getting everything ready to go. Taking a lot of damage. So is Clem, of course. Both of them kind of almost looking for a main engagement and then not really, pulling the trigger 100%. So they're both taking a lot of damage from each other. Funnily enough, that is what they probably could have shot, but oh well. Bjorn, obviously has been trying to get this base up and safe, and is mining. He's also getting a base to the top right, which also is the Vespian Geyser. He does need gas. He could get gas just for these ones, of course, but no matter what you take a Terran, any late game race is going to need a lot of gas. I do wonder about Bjorn's composition at this point. His supply is even with his opponent, but he's down 20 army supply, so a weird thing to see, but it is the Protoss who has less workers and more army. And then Bjorn has really lost out in the Sky Wars here, but then, well, no, 10 Tempests. 10 Tempests overall. He definitely needs Vikings. Kind of goes for like this base trade, decides, yes, I will go for it with majority of my army. Does grab another Nexus. Sends his tech army back home, I suppose, to save at least one of these planetaries. This one obviously fell. 24 SCVs as well, which Bjorn did kind of need to get rid of some SCVs. Maybe not like that. As I said, the tech army kind of went back, so the Vikings, Liberators, a lot of the Ghosts. Vikings also starting to get into bigger, better numbers. 10 of them on the field now. 5 more about to reinforce. Bjorn still moving along with the bio. But he mostly left for the Nexus kills. Gets another Nexus. Going to check the corner. See none over there. And start to feel a little better about the economic situation. He doesn't know what we know, and that he is kicking butt in the mineral bank, but he just took away one of the mining base that actually had some mining. This one was already mined out. You know you killed this one, although it has been reestablished. And you need to make sure that that stays the way, because Bjorn's not exactly rich either as far as the consistent income. He does have the bank of minerals, but gas? Question mark. Amount of minerals to mine from? Question mark. He does have this base in the Rich Vespian, though, and that's something that Clem really needs to take down. Clem has no sight on the right side of the map at this point. No way for Bjorn to know how much bank his opponent has. Still has to be very careful. But Clem definitely needs these bases up. Take this one. Maybe even try and sneak this one again. Bjorn not going to let it happen easily. Since he has lost his SCVs, he has not rebuilt them, so he has taken the lead in the army supply as they both max out. Equal upgrades too, by the way. The Viking number is now up to 16. That can take down a couple of the Tempests, although some rally in awkwardly, so make that 13 Vikings. Bio once again trying to go for these base snipes, get Storm, but it's not enough to stop them. Depowers Robo and Stargate, gonna kill the Nexus, kill some potentially important production, and Clem cannot replace that. He's desperately trying to hold on to this base, but it's not working. This Nexus basically already dead. There it is, going to fall. That was a kill, I believe, not a cancel. 6 Nexus killed. Another base will fall in the natural. If the natural falls, so does all of Clem's production. He cannot let this happen. Some storms were made in anticipation of this, but storms generally don't kill the army. They just weaken it. You need something else. Case in point, a lot of weak units, but not dead. This is some important stuff. This is the heart of the Protoss right now. Clem cannot rebuild elsewhere. This isn't stuff he can afford to lose. Now finally getting an Archon involved. The Tempest is helping, but then he's also still losing many of the battles over here as Bjorn slowly encroaches. If he takes this position, he won't just deny Clem a base, he'll probably take this base. And Clem can't let that happen either. Bjorn tries for a different angle, inadvertently goes into a great storm. My goodness. Oh god, and it lasted forever as well. Oh, it did so much damage. Clem wanting to take advantage of the damage he just caused. Disruptor shot also gets a great shot in the weakened army. That was what he needed to stand his ground and continue mining from at least one of these bases, and he is going to try and recapture this one. A freebie Liberator, yes. Again, another game where we're going to talk about inches. For Bjorn, the mineral bank might have felt nice, but then again, his mineral count is still kind of low. So for now, it's okay, but he does need this other base. If he gets this base and he still has this Rich Vespian Geyser, I mean, he's obviously just mining more. That's great news for him. But it can still feel like on either end, you could lose far more than your opponent now that Storm's been added in. And I really feel like Storms are adding a lot here. Again, super damaging this army. Not quite killing it, but now it's so damaged. These Archons, their splash is one-shotting these units. Bjorn's tactic of leaving his tech at home and attacking with the bio, it worked out a couple of times. Now it's starting to backfire a decent amount. He's just losing on either end as the supplies get back to even. I mean, Bjorn's a little down in the army supply, but he's the one that's taking these fresher bases. He actually has minerals and gas to mine from. Clem is running out of those things, although he finally gets this base back up. He's run out of this gas, for instance. This one, I guess, hasn't been mining all that consistently, and oh, so many probes not mining when he really needs them to be. I think a Liberator must have come over, right, to have this happen. Ay. Bjorn in a bit desperate position without that gas. He's rebuilding his SCVs, first of all, because he does have bases to mine from, but then he also is building a lot of Marines. And while Marines are good, and no one denies that, it's not generally what you want to see 32 minutes into a game. You're most so thinking about Ghosts, Vikings, Liberators. Fortunately, Marines are pretty good, though. And I mean, like, worst case scenario, you build Marines. It's better than something else, but only if they can reach a Tempest, which means only if there are no storms. And that's the rub. So we need these EMPs to hit. Clem is up to 12 Tempests, by the way. That is a lot. Get a couple of oracles so we can get some vision. The bio attack, once again, does move into the natural. Is going to kill the Nexus. Obviously, the Nexus wasn't a big deal. It's more so about this now opening up the production, the technology, which Clem taking a while to respond to, knowing there's going to be another army elsewhere. He needs to balance this appropriately. He knows that. And it makes it difficult. And I guess, you know, beyond relentless with these moves. Might eventually find a lot more technology to kill. DTs have been warped in defensively, by the way, and they are doing good work, although the Marauders still trade out with the Stalkers. Yeah, this still wasn't terrible from Bjorn, I would say. Well, he does lose his entire army. He took down the Nexus, sure. He took down some pylons. He took down some army as well. All while mining more reliably than his opponent. You can check out these little tiny numbers right here and see that it is better for the Terran on both gas and minerals thanks to this corner base alongside the Rich Vespian, which does not have more. No, it's out. It is out. I was like, doesn't have much more. Literally ran out as I was clicking on it. So that needs to be considered. This map does not have that many bases. We are talking about all minerals and gas gone in the next few minutes. This storm on the Vikings is huge. Oh my god, more storms as well. Bjorn wanted to take the fight, but the concave wasn't quite there. The EMPs were not there, and suddenly all the Vikings in the sky, all but one, are dead. That was not it. That was so incredibly 100% not it. Bjorn is going to have to tuck tail and run and hope that he can rebuild that Viking fleet, but he just lost the Rich Vespian Geyser. All of his other geysers are defunct. This is it. This is it. Although he does have another base to take. I mean, he should absolutely lift one of these orbitals and take this. Not thinking about it. Such a close game. A game that seems to be slipping through his fingers, by the way. He lost so many Vikings and only killed 5 of the Tempest, leaving 7 in the sky. And again, Marines could theoretically take him if they can reach him. Another bio attack into the main base. He wants all this technology. He wants to grab the Stargate and the Dark Shrine and the Templar Archives, which did just go down. Fleet Beacon goes down as well. Bio is going to take out the Zealots, no problem. Maybe even the Colossus. Clem pulls away from a fight in the middle of the map. Now they're both focusing entirely on this fight. Bjorn even tries to escape, but unfortunately a reinforcing Tempest is there. Unloads because why not? Maybe cause some damage. Opens up the opportunity to attack into a couple of Nexus that Clem desperately needs. This is important. Bjorn needs to get this Nexus and get the hell out of here. He doesn't actually want to take the army on. And he's not going to be able to get the Nexus, just some of the defenses. And now I think it's time to leave. He does scan ahead, and there's no Tempest as of yet, so maybe he tries to take the fight. But then again, that's a lot of Archons, and I am not seeing any EMPs. Where are the ghosts? Okay, there are some in the mix. One more is going to go down. A couple more do have EMPs, but they need to be so careful. If they use them on the Archons, they might not be available for some High Templars that are bringing up from the rear, right? Which is exactly what would have happened. If he thought the EMPs, the Archons were it, he would have died to all these storms. Bjorn struggling to afford anything that costs gas. He's got 78 gas in his pocket, and that is it. Still has not taken this base. Oh, he is taking this base. Very, very important. He absolutely needs this gas. Templar Archives being rebuilt by Clem, who also managed to keep this base alive, although not completely saturating it. Stasis Trap is scanned. Storm, is it going to be used? Is he paying attention? Yes, he is. So is Bjorn, though. A little pre-split right there. And then, well, I mean, it's still a good number of Zealots. Clem does check that top right base. He sees that it's trying to be gotten, so now he might focus his efforts on denying it. Bjorn escapes with a couple of those medevacs and does not want to take the main fight. This is not the army he wants. He doesn't have enough Vikings. He doesn't have enough EMPs. He's mostly Marine-based. This is getting incredibly close. I mean, I was definitely on the Bjorn train 5 minutes ago, I guess, at this point. Yeah. But frankly, there was a couple of battles that he really mismicroed. And that is, you know, explained by how action-packed this game is and how difficult this game is. You couldn't just always be scanning ahead and pre-splitting and preparing. Oh my god, something hit all this close ghost! There was nothing to see it! Oh, the High Templars are actually EMP. This is 100% where you want to go, 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 go. One more storm was available. Here comes the rest of the army. Is it going to be enough, though, as the bio starts to deplete? There isn't enough of them, despite taking down so many storms. Clem's Tempests. They're raining from above. They're not being touched by the Marines. The Archons still alive, not EMP'd themselves. Bjorn Oh, I don't blame him for trying to go right then and there. Getting the storms out of the equation felt like it could have been his moment. But it wasn't. It still wasn't. 6 Archons, I think, still had all of their shields. Tempest were still in the sky, able to microwave from the Marines. And Clem ends up winning a game of which he lost 20 probes in the first, 8 minutes. GG's. Wow. What a game. And one of the few super late games in which the Protoss ends up winning. To me, most of these have gone the way of the Terran. They've always been close, of course. They've always been close. I'm not saying it's super one-sided or super unbalanced, but this is one of the few. Wow, that took a lot longer than I expected. Scoutsy Justice, thank you for the Founder Bitty Boos. Damn. Woo. Glad we caught that one. So now I have time for, one more best of. Check out Hero versus Rainer from the same tournament. I'll let you guys decide. Hero Rainer or Rainer Cure? I was gonna say I could make a poll, but then I realized it's harder. Get your bets in. These aren't bets. Get your votes in. It does seem like everyone wants to see Rainer versus Hero. I was expecting a little more on the TVZ. Okay, good to know. And that is what it will do. Rainer versus Hero. Swear to God, this is a lot of super late game, super passive EVPs. I blame all of you. I haven't cast Cure in a long time, too. But Hero's always a fun guy. He's like a mushroom. He's a mushroom. Mushroom, they're fungi. You guys want to hear a StarCraft 2 joke? Many of you have already heard this one. Why is an infestor never lonely? Why is an infestor never lonely? Because they've always got a couple of fun gals. I can never take credit for it. This is a Rifkin joke from like 10 years ago. It's a good one though. It's one of his best jokes. All right, best of 5 coming up. We got a Zerg versus Protoss on Satellite Years. The best of 5's quarterfinal from the Warty Team Liquid map tournament. Something like that. In the bottom right, it is going to be T1. T1 is awesome. Hero. In the top left, it is Basilisk Rainer, who was in Korea, I believe. Yes, at the time of this, I think that's why he's on Basilisk Korea anyway, so that's a good note. But he left for Korea, I think, last week. Time is a real concept, though. But yeah, why is he in Korea, you might ask? That's usually what people ask every single time any foreigner ever goes to Korea. Because they're hoping to hear that maybe there's foreigners participating in GSL, or there's a foreigner team house, or there's like a show match happening. And for the last 10 years, I would say 90% of the time, the answer is they like Korea. Do they also play in GSL when it happens? Do they also get some practice on the Korean ladder? Yes, those are all true. But a lot of the times, it's not the main reason to go. It's because Korea is awesome. And that is why Rainer is there. But it also means that he can face Hero without the annoyances of ping. And these two actually are... I don't think they've really been built up storyline-wise as a rival. Because maybe their tournaments, the biggest tournaments we have, well, there's so few of them now, womp womp. But also, the ones we did have, they weren't always the ones facing each other. It felt like it was a budding rivalry. It was happening a decent amount of times, maybe like 2 years ago, yeah? And so it was kind of becoming a thing. But then it kind of fell off. Probably because premier tournaments fell off and all that good stuff. But there was a time where they were constantly back and forth. 3-2 Rainer, 3-2 Hero, 3-2 Rainer, 3-1 Hero, 3-0 Rainer, you know. And it was really fun as well. You know, it was a time where Hero was using a lot of his, you know, mass gateway strategies, and Rainer was going for obviously a lot of Ling-based stuff, and Banelings were still in the matchup in a big way, which might not have been super cool for Protosses around the world with their Baneling, their probes getting killed by Banelings, but was actually one of the more fun, explosive metas of ZVP, and I'm hoping that actually makes a comeback. It was a good time. At the end of it, though, I guess maybe Rainer was just being beat by Hero, but I still felt like it was close and really fun to watch. Don't know what happened in the last 6 months, if I'm being honest with you, between the scores between these two. And I don't want to check a Liggy Lack if it spoils this one. So, you guys can figure that one on your own. But I guess at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is that even if one person wins a lot more than the other, even if ZVP overall doesn't feel like that fun of a matchup sometimes, I feel like these two, the way that they play as unique individuals, always creates fun games. And it's also going to be probably even more chaotic and fun because it's going to be on new maps. New to us, not as new to these guys who have been playing in this tournament for, you know, days. I think this tournament lasted about 2 weeks. So they are familiar with it, but not as intimately familiar as ladder maps. So far, very standard openers, by the way. Nothing too noteworthy. Oracle number 1 is on the way. Oracle number 2 is stacked behind it. They got a handful of adepts being created. Third base seems normal enough to grab, although quite a good concave for the Zerg. That's a little scary for any Zerg timings, I guess. I don't know. This is just the brush, apparently, with this doodad, but on the map, this looks like this is like some type of like comic cartoon kapow. You know what I mean? Image. Am I the only one who sees that? It's like bright yellow and red, and it's like kapow. Anyway, it's just the brush, apparently. Don't know why it's called satellite years either. Are there a lot of satellites? Possibly. Oracle number 1 doesn't die, and that is the most important thing, but it took a hell of a lot of damage and did very little damage in turn. Behind this, double Oracle opener, Twilight Council, and Forge, so nothing particularly aggressive from Hero, who I don't think got... I mean, he got enough of a scout with the Oracle. It was so busy trying to live, though. You too want to keep tabs on what's coming out on the front, too. And that's something that Hero is now doing. Oracle and Adepts buddying up. 4 Adepts. Not the scariest amount, but just enough, really, to take control of the outer edge of creep with the help of the Oracle. And if they get close enough to the drones, they might shade. This is actually a clever little move to try and get to the third base. Now they're forced to shade away, however. The Oracle can't help them anymore, and that might have been too overly aggressive. In fact, it was 100% though. Oracle's like, at least you can get a stasis trap. Yeah, can you though? Yeah, I mean, Hero was awfully aggressive there. Kind of saw like how close the Adepts were to the third, you know, moved him in. I could definitely see the situation working favorably for him, but not that time. Fourth base on the way. I mean, the more I think about it, the more that it probably wasn't a good idea in general. But yeah. Fourth base on the way for Raynor, who is already just at so many drones. Good lord, he's already at 70 almost. Of course, he's getting gases as I speak, but the point is he's almost at 70. Having taken just 2 drones with the damage to all the harassment, significantly injuring one of the 2 oracles, and killing all 4 adepts without them doing anything to him. It's a wonderful start for Raynor. Hero, it's not the worst start as in now he loses. GG, no re. It's more just like, that probably could have gone better for me. But back at home, 3 bases, 6 gases, getting up to, I thought I saw the Templar Archives. Yes, I did. And, you know, I think we're all kind of waiting more so to see what the dynamic is between Protoss and Zerg, Storm, and Ling Hydra, apparently. Hero actually throws out just Zealots. And I say that in such a tone because it really feels like a random-ass thing here. But random-ass things and working, you know, that's Hero, I suppose. This one, I'm not really sure I'm going to say works. It's going to cost a lot of Lings to take care of it, as that +1 was done for the Zealots. I mean, this is why, as much as it seems random, because it's just like, Zealots, go! It isn't. There's an idea behind it. With +1 done, a Ling-based Zerg defense, you think you're going to potentially get really good engagements, especially if the Zealots got any type of nook and cranny. Those Lings would have struggled, even if they had +1 melee in turn. Banelings were forming, and that also would have helped, but you can see how that could have worked. I don't think it really did. Hero does manage to pull back some of the Zealots, but not the, not like the perfect timing kind of shock value Zealots that they can be. Fourth Nexus almost looked like it was off place for a second. That made me do a double take, because I was expecting it over here. But instead of taking the full base, takes the half base, but with a Rich Vespian Geyser. I would say the other benefit of taking this base, though, is the Zealots once again get surrounded, so these Zealots just a little less than ideal. They're like they're feeling like the B team Zealots right now, even though they have the upgrade. Ire sent the B team. Anyway, the other benefit of taking the fourth Nexus here is that this is going to be really close to the ramp, so you can get the storms on the ramp. And I like that actually a lot. What I don't like is the significant lack of Protoss army I'm looking at right here. There is just storms. Raynor, of course, is going to try and take this engagement, pushing his way through those storms. Hero does have some reinforcements now, and he does have a storm in his back pocket. And that was very, very scary. Fortunately, storm does last a decent amount of time. But I like that Raynor continues to move in. He notices, he sees that this is very storm dependent, and eventually storms will deplete. Recharge unavailable anymore either. Forced turn the Archons, but more Zealots were created. Oracle even comes in to help out, and this might just be enough for Hero to send Raynor packing. Banelings form up, clear out some of the Zealots, but now we got Archons, now we got a Warp Prism, and now Raynor is the one on the run. Does grab the Oracle at the last second. Queens are pulled to the front lines, going to try and help out. And in turn, that might be just enough for Raynor. Now, that was precarious. Raynor forcing the issue, I think, was very understandable. And Hero just barely making the defense work is commendable. Rhyming. You good caster. Now the Archons, all healthy, in fact, now, too. You know, sometimes you see those desperation Archons, the ones that are like, I got nothing else to do! And then they just get popped immediately. Well, now you have 4 Archons, healthy as can be, replacing the storms, building up the Zealot count. This is all while Hero did add on a Fleet Beacon, and just the Fleet Beacon, actually, not the Stargate. But still, he added the Fleet Beacon, he's getting to the Mothership, which is really quite painful for Raynor, who might have hoped that was still a close enough battle that his opponent hasn't been able to afford anything but surviving. Banelings on the backside is a nice touch, and they are close to getting to the High Templars, but not quite. So many Hydras having to run away. They're still going into this choke after all. And every time it seems like it could just be enough for the Zerg, there's always one more storm. Isn't that always how it is? There's always one more storm. Banelings crash into a Zealot run by that looks to be fairly ineffective. It kind of looked like they were queued on the gas geyser, so they made sure to kill that. but not too much else. 80 drones, 73 probes, 5 bases to 4. Raynor with relentless Ling Hydra Baneling aggression has not added on Infestation Pit. He is kind of all-inning at this point. Like, this really needs to work. If Hero is able to add on more carriers, for instance, he hasn't even gotten 1. If he adds on carriers, gets to 3 or 4, which I don't think he would go carriers, actually, in this case, with so many Hydras, but the point stands. Hero's kind of moving on with the game. He is upgrading his technology. He is getting to a better ground Protoss army with upgrades as well. And this just is going to outpace Raynor's army eventually. But Raynor has tenacity, and he has the Swarm that is going to try and break through this. Comes in on the right ramp. At least he's going to be able to grab the Nexus. No cancel. A couple of High Templars go down too, but Hero is pushing. That's not going to be an actual push. Yeah, I was wondering if he was going to just sack this base and go for the push because he thinks there's an opportune moment. Decides not to, but I feel like that's where we're getting to. That this is now timer on Raynor. Hero is clearly not going to simply buckle under the Ling Hydra pressure, which means eventually he's going to realize he can get out on the map. And while Storms are a little less effective versus Banelings as far as their burst, you know, when a Storm gets slapped down, how much damage it immediately does, I feel like people who are worried about its effectiveness versus Banelings are maybe a little dramatic. I still think, you know, because it's never Storms in isolation, which is what so many of like these like, you know, proof Storm's bad gifts are. It's never Storm in isolation. It never should be Storm in isolation. It's Storm plus Archons plus Immortals plus Zealots plus Stalkers. And I think they'll be totally fine. Raynor knows that a direct confrontation wouldn't go extremely well for him, so he's trying to keep the Protoss down to 4 bases and trying to maybe get one hell of a surround. Mitigate the Storm damage as much as possible. Perhaps that surround could happen, not so much. Kind of looked like he was prepping for it, but then more Protoss army was on the backside too. Going to be forced to evacuate this base and then do other things, you know, while waiting for Hero to move into his army. He's going to segment off a portion, go for the 4th base, having repeatedly denied the 5th. Now really hitting Hero's economy quite hard, but still not hitting Hero's army. Classic ZVP dilemma right here. I might have taken down some of your economy, but can I take on the army? Storms get slapped down, Archons on the front line, Banelings trying to connect with the High Templars, just shy of doing so. Big moment right there. Lots of damage jumped to the 2 players, but at the end of the day, Raynor's supply stays lower than Hero's. He also used a lot of sacrificial units. Obviously, the Banelings all went down, the Lings all melted, whereas Hero did manage to save High Templars, did save Archons, and saved a heck of a lot of Immortals. I mean, Immortals actually kind of feel funny against Ling Baneling Hydra, which they do no extra damage to. But now that we have turned into Lurkers, now Immortals feel freaking fantastic. This actually feels like there was no other choice. Like, there's not really a lot that Raynor can do. How late he was getting into the late game, how much he emphasized the mid-game aggression. He barely ekes out a Hive. What else can he really get that's going to change the dynamic other than Lurkers? And there's not any answer there. But Lurkers still don't feel great because they're being built into someone who's already prepared for them. And they don't have their upgrades. They don't have their upgrades. We never got range? Interesting. Anyway, the Lurkers might be able to hold in a choke. But we have Raynor slapped back down to just 3 bases. Hero might be only mining from 3 bases right now as his 4th and 5th are denied. But he does have a 4th and 5th Nexus. And again, his army remains intact, so he doesn't have to replace both economy and army, which Raynor does. Raynor has to replace both, and he can't right now. Lurkers managed to get their range upgrade, but not their speed burrow. It was the Hydras missing their upgrade that I was talking about. Could have been a big mistake. This seems like a pretty one-sided affair. As long as the Observer is alive, and it still is. Oracle's also available, and yes, it was a one-sided affair. GG's. Lurkers, as I said, were already kind of countered, but then you give them that much space to try and cover. Ain't happening. GG's. Hero takes game 1. Every time I see someone not get a second Hydra upgrade, I have to triple check myself about what patch we're in. I don't know why. We've been in a patch that has separated the Hydra upgrades for like years at this point. But like, I don't know, my brain doesn't want to remember that. I wonder if maybe, actually kind of funny, I wonder if a possible buff to Zerg would be their combining the Hydra upgrades again. It made timings really strong, which I think they still want to avoid. But I don't know. We're on to Ruby Rock, a new map for me. Top left, Hero. Bottom right, Rainer. This is a... There is a map that had a lot of red on it. Red Shift, first of all. But not the map I was thinking of. And there was this really bad map. No one wanted to play on it. And it was full of rocks and red palette. That's as much as I can give you. And it was a ladder map. And again, no one played on it. It's giving me some vibes. Anyway, other than the terrain, the textures, what do we got? Natural, third, fourth, or maybe this could be the third. Drone, by the way, I should probably highlight that. Wait a second. Oh no, okay, never mind. I reversed the spawn positions. That was just trying to take as natural. Never mind, nothing important. Back to the map. Nothing. Okay, so no rich Vespian or gold. No shrines or interesting rocks. Which it feels like every map that we've seen between today and yesterday's Open Cup, there have been no doodads, as I call them. I wonder why. I for one, was looking forward to more experimentation with Zerg rocks and healing shrines and whatever else they could think of. I was wanting more of that, not completely getting rid of them. Oh well. So it seems like some interesting battle dynamics maybe in the middle with this, and then you got rocks breaking down there. I don't know, it seems pretty normal. If I had to pick a favorite map, it was the last series, that small, skinny map. I liked that one. But I have no say in any of the choice. Even if they had asked me, which I think they did ask me years ago if I wanted to be a panelist. Yeah, like a judge. I said no. I might have said yes once and then like never got around to it and I felt bad. But after I said no, I don't think I was asked again. I think I just admitted I didn't want to be on it. I don't want that. I don't want that pressure. Adapt opener into Stalker this time. Very slight difference, but can be important. Still a Stargate opener, but what comes out of the Stargate? Rainer's natural was successfully denied. He had to take it at a third. And that's just an annoyance. Not sure it's going to be abused. Sometimes some maps work out in a way. I think, you know, how big the choke is in the natural, how far away the third is from the natural. Some maps work out in a way that the Protoss really wants to deny the natural, force them to take this as a third, and then they follow up with the depths. But I feel like it hasn't been the case in a while. This block just adds a lot of delay on the mining. But would it feel especially painful on maps you're maybe not familiar with? Raina did make enough lings take care of 2 adepts, of which were built, you know, a single stalker, sure, but it seems like it was just to clear out this overlord. Which it will not. Well, no, he doesn't want to go for the stalker. I mean, well, you want to save the overlord, but then the oracle, you know, kills the stalker. You want to save the overlord, but the oracle is picking the stalker, so it's gonna have to be forfeit. Or will it? Or will it? Hero reacts very quickly to stop the Stalker from being surrounded, and that Overlord is 100% dead. But Raynor got so much advance notice that he's not at all supply blocked. Lings might have also thought about going after me, like the Pylon or the Adept. So far, Hero is handling Lings running around every which direction very well, and is warping in just a couple of extra Adepts, but this is what he did last time. You know, last game his Oracles were kind of a bit of a failure, I suppose. They didn't die, so failure is a strong word, but they didn't do very much else. And then they didn't end up helping the Adepts that were very, very aggressive. Surround the Heroes, once again denied from doing any direct drone damage. Will Hero move out with the Adepts again? A third Oracle was made, okay. It's like 2 had become a standard. 6 Adepts. Covered by potentially 2 Oracles at the least. This Oracle might stay at home to deflect any Lings. Speaking of which, +1 melee, once again the call here for Raynor, but he also adds on a Roach Warren, so not going into those Hydras. I mean, if there's a possibility of this being Resonating Glaives, and it actually is going to be Resonating Glaives. Hydras might be coming out a little too late. Queen and Drone going to be in stasis. The Adepts, though, far more important. Head right into the main base. But doesn't seem to be the opportunity that Hero truly wanted. Is going to recall them out. Save them for something else. Which is probably the right call. Although it did look like they were going to have some free reign in the main. So probably didn't like what he saw. +1 melee only halfway done. Roach Warren is done. Are we going to actually build into those roaches? Raynor scouting limited. Otherwise, lair only just begun at around 6 minutes. And the Oracle is going to be able to scout the lair timing, sure, but also the composition. Where the armies are as the Adepts prep their attack. Which direction they want to enter into. It does seem to be quite... I don't want to say an open field for the Adepts, but the Adepts can get so close to the natural and into the main as well with their shade without being seen, because the creep shredders are limited. Having to go and connect the 3rd base and then looking to connect the 4th as the priority means that the Adepts are not seen as they come in from this direction. They might not be seen coming from this direction either until the very last second, as those Lings were pushed back by the Oracles, and here comes so many Adepts. +1 melee will be done, but that is not nearly enough Lings, and the Roaches have only just begun. Raynor did not know this was on the way. They also take the engagement just before +1 melee was done. Oh my god. Oh no. +1 melee could have killed probably 4 or 5 more of these Adepts, honestly. That is so heartbreaking. Hero going to deal a lot of damage. He already has killed so many Lings that do have to be replaced, thus taken away from more drones. Raynor was already at a very healthy drone count, to be fair. He's already above 70. Which is part of the reason he's struggling right now. But he has lost 11. Might be losing more as the 3rd base, yep, is under attack. There you go, up to 18 killed. 26 Adepts! Good lord, Hero just continues to make them. Sees the opportunity to win with them, I guess. You know, he could move on to building Stalkers and staying at home, but he's not doing that. He's like, I'm gonna win, and he's absolutely right. GG. Hero, 2-0. A little Adept attack that Raynor was not expecting. I can't believe that +1 wasn't done. Would it have saved Raynor? I'm not so sure. It still is painful for that timing to happen. Not quite living up to the last specified. At least we're seeing a lot of new maps. And we got another new map here, as Blizzard decides to patch. Or did my internet fail? Seems like the stream's still up. So we're gonna see what that is after I exit this replay. It's gonna kick me out of StarCraft. Okie dokie. Well, moving on from that, we do have top right of tourmaline. Tourmaline. I don't know what that is. Tourmaline is a group of mineral species. Boron is compounded with elements such as aluminum. Okay, it's a word. It's a real word, is what it is. Pronunciation. Tourmaline. Thanks, Google. We're on Tourmaline. Top right, Rainer. Bottom left is Hero. Is all the safe house prep done? Really, I mean, no. But the amount of work that I can do from here, yes. We're going to have to set everything up when I'm actually in Vegas. Buy groceries, set up cameras, figure out, you know, casting setups. Configure stream decks, all that good stuff needs to be done out in the actual studio. It's not actually a studio, but that's what we're going to call it. We probably will have a light problem, but on the, you know, scale of things, on the list of things that I truly care about, proper lighting is very low. Because in order to get proper lighting, you need to make sure that you just don't have any natural light, which is extremely difficult to do. By the way, what was with this opener? I didn't think there was anything interesting to talk about, but Hero High Ground Gatewayed? I don't think I missed a drone, did I? What's up with that? Interesting. Now I'm suspicious. Did I actually miss a drone? I don't... Even you know, like one drone appearing does not result in a high ground gateway. And the high ground, because the pylon has to be put up here first, so it's like that wouldn't even be a reaction to a drone. There's no way anything would have happened. Like he just went for a high ground gateway. What is this? What year is this? What are you doing? What's going on? Was it a Nexus first? I gotta look. I'm too curious. No, what the... That's very interesting. Okay, well, I'm sure initially Rainer was like, what the hell? And the Stalker popped out. The Overlord has a safe location. Extra gateways are coming down too, which now I'm really taking that in. He's 3-gating? What is happening? Can't even finish what I was talking about. This game is too interesting because Hero is flipping weird. Okay, he's going to a Stargate now. It's fully walled off. Okay. I don't get it. I don't get it, but it's happening. Rainer just takes a third. That's completely normal. Hallucination, you know, gets a lot of scouting done. Doesn't really feel necessary to get the sentry this fast in this matchup, when you consider the Oracle is a fantastic unit that comes pretty swiftly. And you know, the way that you get scouting done without a sentry before the Oracle is with the probe first, then the Adepts, which is possible in every single game. So this is something special, clearly. He's warping in from his 3 gateways as well. Rainer saw that it was 2 extra gateways on top of what was definitely a gateway in the main. And he figures it's a Stargate. That's a good call. He's building spores. I gotta believe he's about as confused as I am. I wonder if he's also making sure that he doesn't die to Dark Shrine. But it's Adepts, which he now sees. Not a lot to defend against this, but then the Adepts go on a ramp, so they're not hitting anything important. Queens are close by, adding in their little bits of damage, and this isn't threatening the drones immediately, so this really isn't the worst Adept attack for Rainer. More Adepts were on the way, but they decided not to because the Adepts had to shade out. I'm just going to be stuck being confused. What I was trying to say before all this confusion was that if you want to have proper lighting, you have to have an actual studio, and that is to say that a place that is designed with as little natural light as possible. And if there is natural light, then all natural light is blocked out, which, yeah, it's a very specific thing. There's a lot of adepts. Not with Resident Enclaves, of course. Just 10 good old-fashioned adepts off of a 3-gateway opener. Third Nexus is being built. Our third Oracle is being built too. Twilight Council and a Forge. Feels like we're back on track. Raynor pumped out about a dozen drones. Unfortunately, didn't quite get enough lings. Drones, some of them go down anyway. Maybe not too bad. Drones were pulled into the fight as well. Adepts are getting awfully low from taking the fight with the lings. 8 drones go down in total, make that 9. And that is going to be it. That sends Raynor down to 50 drones compared to his opponent's 49, but he made a good call as the engagement was happening. He didn't excess build lings. He didn't panic and overmake lings. He was building drones as the adepts shaded in almost. So he actually is already back up by about 8 drones. Or his hero, you know, I mean, his economy's fine. It's just it's such a weird opener. I don't quite get it. I can't tell you exactly what is different. I've never looked at the graph this early and been like, well, aha, the Protoss should absolutely have this much differential. But I can't believe that opener was the most efficient possible. Lincoln +1 are on the way, so is Templar Archives. Hero is now divvied up some adepts, just going for a little bit of harassment and scouting. 4th base is done for Raynor. 5th on the way. Might be denied, might not. Nah, it's not gonna. Ling Hydra. Roaches are also possible. Let's see if he actually builds into them. He's building the upgrades, so you'd think so, but we'll see. The 5th, rather, might have to be canceled. Yeah, Oracles and Stalkers are on the way. These Stalkers just seconds away from having Blink, but the Oracles are meant to protect them until then anyway, and that's a hatchery. Yeah, just has to be canceled. Nothing to do about it. But that wasn't the 4th. The 4th is up and will be able to receive the drones, of which Raynor is very much making. He scouts the 3 base setup with the 6 gases being taken. He figures that means there won't be an incredible amount of aggression coming in from the Stalkers, and there isn't. There's no Proxy Gateway, there's no War Prism. It's not that many Stalkers. Not only adding on those drones he needs for the 4th base, but also adding on the Infestation Pit. As he skips building roaches because he can. Oracles grab a couple of drones and do manage to survive. Speed is remembered this time, range and speed. Yeah, you know, the more I think about it, the more that game 1, I feel like Raynor might have won if he had range on his upgrade, on his Hydras. He just had the speed, which, you know, you got to choose one or the other first and foremost, but I think eventually adding on that range might have done the ticket. It was very close for a while. But now he has range first. So, storms do come down. He will not be able to dodge out as easily. He's got to really respect him. I mean, you always have to respect him. Storm is near completion. There it is, with Storm available. Raynor will not be breaking into that 4th base anytime soon. Hive is on the way. Lurkin is on the way. Big critical difference between this and last time we saw a Hive is that this is not a last-second Hive. Hey, well, my plan A didn't work out. Let's go to plan B. He's going to be getting to Lurkers long before Hero takes super lead. There are no Immortals on the field. There's not even a Robo. There certainly is not going to be Tempest on the way or Carriers on the way. Just a good old-fashioned Stalker Storm, which the Lurkers would massacre if we had Lurkers. Not quite there yet. Storms are here, but this is a good setup. This is a great setup, actually, for Raynor. Comes on the backside as well. Still split away from the Storms on the right, but more Lings even spill forth, taking advantage of very limited army composition. No Zealots, just the Storms. The Storms are gone. Those Stalkers are super vulnerable. And now the Lurkers are going to form. Bad news for Hero, whose attack just got slapped in the face. And now Lurkers will be able to not just form, but also get right on top of his base. Right on up there. He's trying to get to Tempest now, but it's a bit late. The Lurkers will be doing a lot of damage. They don't need their upgrades for this particular position. Oh, they are getting to their range. One lurker almost sniped to get started, but not quite. And the rest of the lurkers do burrow up. The transfuse went down on it too. I do like Hero's emergency response, just adding in these cannons, hoping to buy time. And they are doing a little bit of time buying, but he's already out of storms. He's almost out of army, and Raynor can just sit here with the lurkers for the most part. Commend Hero for trying to get the snipes when possible, but not quite able to stop the numbers. I mean, he's killed 3 so far. Make that 4. Another transfuse. Try to save the 5th. Not quite. But every time he goes in to snipe a lurker, he does take a lot of damage on his stalkers. Hydras, meanwhile, were ripping through the probes. As Hero's stalkers are busy elsewhere. Raynor continuing just to rally in here, rebuild those lurkers, rebuild the Hydras, continue with the upgrades. And he has clearly taken a significant lead in this game. Hero's desperately trying to get to a mothership. Maybe a cloak could push Raynor away for a couple of seconds. He's also getting to a 5th, so Hero's trying to keep in mind, the rest of the game. But he's probably going to lose it right here and now. One more storm. Great split from Raynor. Now an 80 supply lead for the Zerg. Nexus is going to fall. This was such an odd game. It turned into a relatively normal game. But what an odd opener from Hero. I mean, he didn't even play Wings of Liberty. Or maybe he played the tail end of Wings of Liberty. I forget exactly when the Kespa players moved to StarCraft 2. But we barely played Wings of Liberty. And he definitely wasn't there for the first year. I mean, by the end of Wings of Liberty, we were certainly Forge Fast expanding. Not High Ground Gate expanding. So where did he pick this up? It is Hero, though. Leads to Series 2-0, decides, hey, I got a game to try something, and he tries something that's very questionable. I'm not gonna say it's why he died. The Adept follow-up also wasn't very impressive, but... Alright, GG's. Raynor takes a game, and the best of 5 ain't over yet. Don't know why it keeps popping up this, but oh well. Game 4 is going to be on Celestial Enclave, maybe it was? Bottom left Hero, top right Raynor. Don't think Hero is going to High Ground Gateway again. Don't know what the benefit of that was. I'm racking my brain and I really can't. Maybe someone else has a good idea as to why that would be helpful, but I can't figure it out. We have seen this map before. So this is a map that has a in-base natural, but it is a half base. So it's not really something you want to take as your natural, the thing that is setting you up for the most success possible in the game of StarCraft 2, is securing an actual big boy natural. But it is useful for later on. Let's say is maybe your 4th or your 5th, because it is super protected. Really, at this point in StarCraft 2, like, all the races are going to... Well, typically. Beyond did take this base, actually, as his natural in a game on this map. But I would say a lot of the races do the same thing. Zerg kind of prioritizes it the most as far as keeping the safe base for last. But I think Protoss does it, and then Terran will oftentimes do it as well. Particularly if it's going to be a half base anyway. So, don't know exactly what the mapmaker had in mind when he made it, as to how this would play out, what made this interesting. But it's not just that it's a half base that makes it interesting. There is also a way for the workers to get through this. I thought you had to mine it, which it wouldn't be much to mine anyway. But actually, the workers can already go through it. This is 2 mineral fields, apparently. So that means you can scout with a worker through the backside. If I understood the interaction correctly. And I don't know, I just saw 2 SCVs go through it. And I was like, oh, okay. That means that your 4 bases could be set up like so, right? All these. And you're going to break down these rocks, as pretty much every race, eventually, to take this base. For Hero, I'm going to take this as your third. Raynor, Zerg's going to be taking this as their third, and then this is their fourth, and then this, I don't know, fifth or sixth. Rest of the map, there is also a half base in the middle that has a rich Vespian, which would typically be the fifth base. So some experimentation with, you know, a little bit of like, okay, player's decision as to where to expand as opposed to, you know, big bright red dot that says expand here at exactly this time. Void Ray is coming out for Hero. That's a big change. 2 Adept Opener into the Void Ray. And sometimes Hero does something even trickier behind the Void Ray. Sometimes it is just to make a Zerg player doubt. Time will tell. Hey, State. I'm interested in what comes in after the Void Ray. Hero is looking to take this as his third, perhaps. Hey, I mean, I could see that. Of course. And then, as I said, this is the fourth because they can actually enter through here. Because it is very safe. But it is half. It is halfsies. So if we think of maybe a typical Protoss build that goes up to like 6 gases, for instance, suddenly you can't do that on 3 bases anymore. You'd have to reach towards your 4th to get up to 6 gases. Twilight Council and Forge are on the way. That Void Ray was followed up by an Oracle, so this was just the Void Ray to temporarily blind the Zerg and make them suspect, hey, is he doing something really weird? Raynor also grabbed this as his third, which I'm a little more surprised by. The other Zergs on this map have been just taking this as their third and super delaying this one. But, you know, Zerg will expand to their 4th faster than the Protoss will, so as far as the, I don't know, you'd say like the limiting half base factor, you can't get up to 6 gases, you only get to 5. You can't saturate with 70 drones, you can only saturate for however many. Like, that's limited, I suppose. It's less time the Zerg has to worry about that. But it is going to look really awkward. He's going to have, oversaturation very easily just by doing his normal build. Rock's going to be broken down as suspected. And then Hero, as I said, will eventually break these down. I don't think Raynor is having a super strong reaction to the Void Ray as of yet, but he's been, awfully blind in a lot of these games. It's not really been a lot of opportunity for him to get an Overlord in and get a really great scout. His lairs have been coming down later in some games as well, so he hasn't been getting Overseers in. And there's one game in particular where that really hit him, and that was the Adept game too. But now getting a lair, finishing around 530. Roach Warren is done. No +1 melee build this time around. And Hero is also doing a lot of scouting in that round there. Should be getting to Blink. Twilight Council has been done for a while. It comes in at the same time as the Forge, and yet there's nothing on the Twilight Council. There we go. Feels like just a straight up mistake of like 30, 40 seconds. Not having Blink. Oh, Spire. So we see Spire on this a little more, apparently, now confirmed than other maps. Because I was wondering if Solar was going to do it versus Beyond in a ZVT with the hanging natural and the safe safe base. And the hanging base where mutas can come in and escape. And then Solar did it. And I was very happy to see that. And now we're going to see it in some ZVP. Problem, though, I'm looking at this, and while these Stalkers are supposed to be finishing Blink, I suspect, and they're not. Oh, okay, there's enough Lings, no problem, no worries. Ling only defense, and without any upgrades, maybe a bit concerned, as the Oracles were there usually to actually wash these guys off. But with this round happening, and Hero having been so aggressive with the army, he does recall, so never mind. I was going to say the Spire, one of the problems of going for Spire is that it is going to leave you a little less on the resources as you bank for the mutas in case the Protoss is attacking you. But momentary panic, maybe momentary adrenaline spike. Now he can go back into building those mutas. Probably didn't mean to build the roaches if he didn't require to, because 3 mutas feels like a really odd amount. The Spire is also cheaper, but I guess the attack isn't actually over, is it? More Stalkers arriving on the front lines. This time they will have Blink in 15 seconds. There's no Proxy Gateway. There's no Warp Prism. But there are 8 gateways. And Hero is just rallying the Stalkers across the map. Grabs the 4th over to the right side, by the way, so still not breaking down these rocks, of which Hero maybe was thinking about this for a 5th. Rainer will actually see that. So it's not like a super dedicated attack here from Hero, but it is keeping up the pressure, going for the mass gateway style, which is very, very fun to watch. Applies a lot of pressure. 5 mutas now, still waiting to actually show themselves by the looks of things. Hero is also no scouting his opponent's base. Maybe Rainer is still kind of gambling that they could arrive at the right moment and do a lot of damage. Or maybe they're just... Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of. Yep. And it is unfortunate, though. Only 5 mutas, even though the Spire is a little cheaper. There's like an odd amount to invest into it. But it is what it is, while also having to defend against the aggression. 5th base going to be denied, at least for now. Mutas will enter into the natural, but we do have at least a cannon. We actually have a cannon in every single base, so perhaps Hero suspecting this style on this map from Rainer, for whatever reason. Oracles scout the incoming Roach Ravager attack, which is a bit more important. Only 5 probes go down to the mutas. Hero's gonna make a Phoenix and a Fleet Beacon. I don't think he actually is having a super strong reaction to the possibility of more mutas, considering the mutas were in such low numbers. It's possible they're going into mass mutas, sure, but I feel like it's very unlikely. And you saw how many Roaches and Ravagers were actually built about to attack you, although they did pull back. I feel like this one Phoenix was just in cases. Also to clear up the last remnants of the mutas. And then the Fleet Beacon is more because we're on 4 bases. And we are going to get to that mothership. Hive is 80% done. Rainer's prepping the Lurker Den. It's on 4 bases, going now onto a 5th. 73 drones. That's super impressive. I like Hero's position more, actually. Hero is, down 50 supply, but it's ZVP. This is totally normal. Oh, whoa. Okay, Ling's almost getting us around. Stalkers do just blink out. Hero was paying attention when I was not. The Lings are breaking down those rocks on the left side, though. It's another reason that you see them broken down by the person who owns them. But we'll get into that in a second. Stalkers blink aggressively into the Roaches and Ravagers, figuring it is just Roaches and Ravagers, and really not that many. They can do this with the help of the Void Ray, and the Void Ray is actually very helpful for this engagement. Archon comes in, more Stalkers, Oracle's Pulsar beaming the entire time. And Rainer just took a fight that he probably didn't actually want to. Even a cheeky lift on a Ravager. Back to those Lings, however. So this is another reason you would want to break these down and want to secure this as a base so that you don't have a totally surprise run-by happen. Hero catches it before the rocks are even broken down, though. So Rainer takes a bad fight. His run-by isn't going to work out. The rocks are still up. Hero takes a 5th over onto the right corner. Will he ever take this? If he's not going to take it, he should scout this, though. It's a bit of a pylon or something. The Hero has now divvied up his army. Stalkers on the left, rest of the army on the right. Rainer not quite at those Lurkers, but forming them now should help against any multi-pronged aggression, but it's only 4 Lurkers. Hero's combining forces. This is going to be his first look at the Lurkers, which held position, by the way, so a lot of damage done. Here goes, what the hell, man? Pulls away after taking so much damage. But without the Lurkers, Rainer's army isn't that scary. Hero will continue to roam around the edges of creep. Once again, Rainer going for the run-by does finally break down these rocks. No scouting pylon was built, and Hero is going to regret that. His attention is entirely on the offensive. Gets those last mutas. Looking to get this base, and I guess he will. Reinforcements have arrived on the front lines too, which means Hero probably just warped in. Well, maybe not. More warp-ins do happen, and that's very important. Otherwise, this Ling Roach run-by was going to do a lot more damage. So far, both of them killing an equal number of workers. Hero not allowed up the ramp, but is going to kill the hatchery. Hero lost 14 probes, finally clearing out these Roaches, but he has kept all 5 Nexus alive. Rainer back down to 4 bases, and of course, one of them is a half base that's already mining out for sure. 2-1 to 2-1. Hero working his way up to 3-2, however, and on shields as well, so more Archons, more gooder. Is he still not going to put anything over there? This is why Hero, Pig's theory that Hero intentionally lets units through sounds so tempting to believe. Because he does shit like this. But I, for one, don't actually think it's the case. But it makes me want to believe it. Like, what? You'd think you would try to at least wall it. That would be my instinct, but not Hero's. Hero's like, yes, more lings, perfect. Okay. As long as he always has room for a warp in, which he did then. Mothership, oh, Mothership recall into the natural. Oh, brutal, absolutely brutal. Raynor forced to reposition all those lurkers that were holding the chokes. Now they're going to be repositioning into the Protoss army. It is 13 lurkers with their range. And they're just going to have to hold their own main ramp choke. Recall and the Nexus used to help out against the Lings before that goes takes down the Nexus. Not really a fear of that. Although they do have Adrenal. They only also have +1 melee. A little bouncing around going on. Raynor down to 3 bases. Has reestablished a 4th. 8 more probes went down, but Hero is happily mining. Still off 62 probes. This is bad. This is bad. Raynor doesn't realize the mothership is just chilling and waiting for another recall. It is chilling. He could recall his entire army. He could recall more reinforcements somewhere. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, no. Oh, Raynor. Nothing is scouting that. Literally nothing. I think it's a good idea. I was going to do something as close to a recall as there could have. Build a Nidus Worm. Lings try and get onto this 5th base as well, but warpins are still available. Hero does lose 6 probes. These are Adrenal Gland Lings, so they are pretty good. Yeah, needs more Zealots. This Nexus will eventually recover. It'll eventually be okay. He's gonna go for the High Templar. Yep. I mean, one was gonna die no matter what. The other ones I think are supposed to be an Archon, but oh, more importantly, the recall did finally happen. Most of the army was recalled onto that mothership and now into the main base where Raynor can react, taking the high ground, not letting those lurkers up. So much technology is going to fall here, including the claws for the lurkers, so they won't be able to rebuild or remove. Nope, they're good actually. Adapt the Talons is done, but can they win this battle? That's so many lurkers. I feel like they actually might. But is there detection? That is the problem. There's no detection. There's no Overseers, there's no Spore, the lurkers catching the tail end of things outside of the mothership cloak range, but everything else is good to go. So aggressively going on top of the lurkers. God. I feel like the mothership... I feel like the lurkers were hitting something, right? Because the Archons were taken down, but anyway. Mothership finally out of cloak. 26 drones have died. At the 4th base, at the main. We could even harass the drones over here. Utter chaos. And Raynor has lost all of his technology. He has a Roachborn, Nidus Worm, and a Hive. And a spawning pool, surprisingly, but that's temporary. A wall of Zealots just buying further time. I mean, this was messy on either end, actually. Lurkers are still pretty good. Even with the mothership cloak. If they hit something, if there's something on the backside, they hit literally everything. Which I think is why the Archons went down. I have to recheck what actually happened in that battle. But, yeah, Hero, like, kind of stood his ground, you know, courageously on top against that many lurkers. Still 16 of them alive. And did take his own losses. Mothership is still alive, and like I said, he was going to just go harass this 3rd base. Raynor mining off of about 1.5 bases at this point. Hero still mining off of all of his. Lurkers, are they capable of winning a game all by their lonesome? Well, certainly not if Hero is going to go into more air army. He's rebuilding a fleet beacon. That's called habit right there, because he wants a 2nd Stargate, I guess. And, sure. But the point is, he can make more capital ships. Vipers are now on the way, trying to duck the damn mothership out of the way, because this is obviously causing more problems than usual. Ling run by, killing probes in the natural, while Hero looks to end this game. Once again, just jumping on top of the lurkers, figuring he's got a big enough army. This time there's absolutely detection. There's just not enough damage from the lurkers. Supplies look even, but I'm looking around, and where is Raynor's supply? 57 in army somewhere. I guess the Lings. Oh, there was lurkers going for the attack, actually, so there's some supply as well. Some Hydras that are going to try and desperately micro away from these Archons, but everything is dying on the side of Raynor. Hero standing strong. Although it still is very chaotic. GG's. And I am going to take another look at that battle on the ramp. That was something. Mothership recall on this map might have to be very feared. Okay. Denies +3 missile, apparently. Okay. So the cloak is actually activated. There are 2 overseers coming now. Okay, so I think that's what happened. They just came once I... Yeah, that's what happened. Okay. So the overseers came literally as I was freaking out about the cloak. Okay, that's why they all died. But I was like, I can't believe he moved into the lurkers anyway. Like, yeah, he had cloak, but I was like, I don't know. I'd be expecting it to end anytime soon. And then overseers should be on the way, and that's exactly what happened. There might have also been some splash. I think until those overseers came, there actually wasn't any damage. Anyway, GG. Hero won that 3-1 and advanced on in the contest. Well played. Hope you enjoyed it. Oh yeah, Vipers can't abduct motherships anymore. Right? Right. Yes. You're right. They can't abduct motherships anymore. So yeah. He'd have to... Well, he had a Spire before it was killed. So he had to have built Corruptors before the... So yeah, I mean... That's actually going to be so annoying. Yeah. Mothership should definitely abuse that. Because even if, you know, they see the mothership, because that was one of the problems, is Rand didn't see the mothership, but the second time anyway. But even if they see it, like, trying to make, like, you know, have Hydras respond to the third and then to the natural and then the third to the natural, or the fourth into the hanging, you know, like, that would be so annoying. And you don't really want to split your Hydras in case the mothership goes one way or another, because then they just recall on whatever limited Hydras you brought. That could be a problem in the future. Abduct was not saving it at that time, no. But that's what immediately came to mind when I saw the Vipers, which had not been made earlier. You're right, Vipers don't abduct motherships. Oh boy. Celestial Enclave. That hanging base could create some interesting games. Because it already provided, I think, more mutagames. And then we're going to see what happens with motherships with it. Good stuff. That's it for me, guys. Next time I see you on this channel will be Saturday, 10 a.m. Pacific. And it'll be with a bunch of other North American commentators casting Safe House 2. So put it on your calendars. Remember to watch. Support the Matcherino if you can. And, yeah, we're gonna raid Maynard, apparently. That guy. I never raid that guy. So thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you have a good Tuesday, and I'll see you all Saturday for Safe House. Bye-bye.